welcome to another episode of Xbox Infinite. Have I got everyone in the chat box? I have. We got a really special show for you guys today. Really interesting show. Before we get into the show, I'm just going to say I've been banned from Twitter, so if you want to hit me up there, that's probably not a good way to get me. For a little while. It's been a very interesting last couple of days. But enough about me, and on to the guests. We've got Eric from Gamers Nexus, the editor-in-chief. Welcome to the show, mate. Thank you for coming on and being so transparent as you are about your reviews and your processes, etc. So what have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Just to clarify, Gaming Nexus, not Gamers Nexus. Different deal.
Gaming. Yep. Did I say gamers or gaming?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I have not been playing a lot this week. I have COVID right now, and so I've been locked in my bedroom away from my consoles. And the only thing I've gotten here is my Quest, so I've been playing like some VR games. But it's not the sort of bummer that your listeners want to hear about. So I tap out on what I've been playing this week. Next.
Awesome. And one of the writers from Gamers Nexus has also come along. And Joe, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Thank you.
What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
I have been playing somebody else's Steam Deck. They lost a betting on the 49ers and Cowboys game, and the 49ers won. And so I have a Steam Deck for a month. So I've been playing his games on the Steam Deck to see what games play on the Steam Deck. And all of them, from like Spider-Man and like remastered to all of his Call of Duty games, just to see how the Steam Deck works, because I've never played with one.
So you lost a bet and now you're on the deck.
Oh, I won the bet.
Oh, you won the bet?
He lost the bet.
Oh,
and
right.
He's been calling me every day. So I've been sending him pictures like, oops, I spilled water on your Steam Deck. I dropped your Steam Deck in the toilet just to,
Don't even talk about that.
I know, right? I'm a terrible person. Terrible.
Grey Moon out of the chat. Pete is getting sacked. Yes, we'll get to that. We'll move on.
I'm here.
We'll move on to the panel. Well, we're late every week anyway, so I mean, I think Pete's the first time that you've been late. So yeah, I mean,
for a while anyway.
But McDonald's is a bit of a weird reason. But we get into that anyway. Doom Cutie, welcome back to the show. How's your week been? What have you been up to? And you asked me not to ask the question, but I'm going to ask the question. What have you been playing?
Hey, how's it going? I've gone back to work this week, much to my dismay. Sadly. No, I do love my job. Sadly. Oh, I just heard myself back.
Yeah, I heard it as well.
That was
roll on.
It really threw me off. I was like, geez, Umbra's impressions have gotten
really good. Yeah.
I'm skillful.
Oh, goodness me. So I've gone back to work, and I have been I'm playing a game that I can't talk about. Extremely excited about it.
Ooh.
Wait for my review.
Ooh.
You're welcome.
You're not going to give us your MIDI review? I'm kidding. Pete, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. Did you end up getting your McDonald's? Was it worth it, Pete?
No, I didn't. I jumped the curb to get back here in time, and I didn't get my food, and Menu Log aren't delivering McDonald's, so I wasted $20. Love this show. Love you guys. Didn't want to miss the start. Really, really important conversation I think we're going to have at the start here with the Gaming Nexus guys, so I really didn't want to miss that.
Wait a minute.
Been playing Fortnite.
You paid for your food and then you left?
I did, mate. Yeah, I did. I really didn't want to miss the start of the show. Yeah, I jumped the curve at the drive-thru. It was going to be forever. Everybody's down here on holiday, down at the peninsula on holiday, and it usually takes 5 minutes to get through drive-thru. It takes about 45 minutes. It's just crazy.
If you don't know, Pete's rich and he lives in like one of those communities that's like, in the holiday sort of area with the massive houses. He's got like 3 Lamborghinis. It's ridiculous. He acts like he doesn't, but we know he does.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
And moving on to
allowed to say that gets you banned on Twitter, supposedly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, if you call people idiots, that's we might get demonetized. Moving on to our third and final, but not least of which, and I'm excited to have you on the show, Kay Asante. Welcome back, man. It is always great to have you. What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Oh, I appreciate the invite, Riskit. Thank you guys so much for having me here. This is going to be an awesome show. I can already tell there's some kindred spirits on the panel. I see somebody stealing Steam Decks. as soon as you said that, I started clutching mine in that worried way when you talked about water. and I too have gone through the C virus. I'm on the other side of it now, so I feel for you, sir. But the quest is a great companion to have. I love mine. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys being here. As for me, I'm gaming, preparing for my show tomorrow. We're gonna have same kind of crazy conversations. I'm sure we'll probably talk somewhat about Hi-Fi Rush, which I have been playing over and over and over and over and over again. I can't stop playing it everywhere I can. And between that and Sunset Overdrive, I almost said the Midnight Suns, which I've also been slowly getting into because the writing is bad and the voice acting is hilarious, but I'm a Marvel Zombie way back and I'm loving it. So there you go.
I love Midnight Suns. I've beat it twice so far.
I love it. It's great. I
Yeah,
can tell the writing is terrible. I can tell the voice acting is hilariously bad, but I am loving that game. It's great.
Didn't matter at all. Like I was all in on it. Yeah.
Firaxis is sort of right up my alley. It's one of those games that I was sort of holding off to get. I do need to check that game out because, man, I loved XCOM. I know it's like different gameplay wise, but I don't think Firaxis has ever actually made a bad game. And they've made very niche games, but I'm sort of looking forward to playing that one. But there's so much to play at the moment. It's been sort of pushed into the backlog, unfortunately, which is going to happen. A lot of new games that come out are just going to end up straight in the backlog, and we'll get to them later. Umbra, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? What have you been up to? I haven't seen you for like a week, man.
Yeah, doing my own thing.
He's been on Do Not Disturb.
Pretty much. Yeah, I've been trying to get this podcast of mine up and running. I'm doing some things behind the scenes, talking to a lot of different people and such. Been playing a bunch of Hi-Fi Rush. I'm taking my time with it very much so. And also I bought Dead Space, the Dead Space remake. So I started on it, but I haven't gotten far at all. So I'm the type where I have to play through a game to move to the next game. I don't like playing multiple games at once. So I'm going to get into that next. Yeah, and that's really it for now. After I finish Hi-Fi Rush, I'll be jumping over to Dead Space. Yeah, I'm looking to try to get into some Halo, though. I don't know. I got the Halo fever right now, so I feel like doing some of that over tomorrow or something like that. Tomorrow, by the way, is your boy's birthday. If you all feel like... Matter of fact, what is the 4th for you all over there? Isn't it, Pete?
Hang on a minute.
Yes, it is, right? It is the 4th.
Did you
It's
say
your
it was
birthday, brother.
Your birthday?
Today is the 4th.
It's
for
his
us.
birthday. Now, usually when Umbra,
birthday,
when he's
bro.
on somebody else's show and they say it's his birthday, he does it. So I'm going to do it. Happy birthday to you.
Oh.
How about that?
Oh my God.
I hear the pipes, brother. I hear you.
How about that, Umbra? You do that to me all the time. There you go.
Hey, you know.
Mr. Umbra.
I'll allow anyone to sing except for Pete because Pete just there's no song that man cannot murder. Before we get on too far, I have been playing Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space, and a little bit of Age of Empires, which does have mouse and keyboard, so I was excited about that. But it's a bit of a mess around to try to get into it. I think I recorded a little bit of footage. I don't know if I did. It's probably stock somewhere. If it is, I'll whack it up. But anyway, we will get into topics, which is sort of a weird topic at the start of this week. Now, you obviously can tell that we've got Joseph Mora, who wrote the review from Gaming Nexus of Forspoken. If you don't know, that review got a 95 from Gaming Nexus. I found that odd. I'm not going to lie. And so I reached out to Eric and Joe here and just started asking some questions. I didn't do what everyone else did because, Joe, I saw you were getting absolutely attacked down there in your thread. So look, before we get into that, look, I just to get a little bit of background on you guys and sort of how you kind of came to be where you are. Joe, we'll start with you. Can you just let people know, like, where, what's your gaming background? How did you end up in the gaming media? How was the process there? Sort of what's your history when it comes to gaming?
I'll try to shorten this. I've been playing video games since the Atari 2600. I'm looking at a ColecoVision right now. So I've been playing games pretty much all my life, from TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, everything. And Eric actually used to be my manager at a toy store we used to work at in the mall. years ago,
Years,
and
years.
years ago. And we probably about a couple years back, we kind of started talking, and he was like, "I'm with this company called Gaming Nexus. You know, would you be interested in like writing a few things going?" And I was like, I could give it a shot. You know, like just whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, well, you know, you could write a couple articles, and eventually, you know, companies start sending you games, and you can write articles about those." And I was like, cool. And then I got into reviewing and getting stuff and upgrading my tech, and PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series S's just started popping out the woodwork. It was just cool. It was like a dream come true for me. So from just humble beginnings to just being here, writing reviews, writing for games, writing game stuff. I love it. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Congratulations, mate. That sounds awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. And Joe, how did you sort of come to be with Gaming Nexus? Again, no relation to Gamers Nexus, who do.
You mean Eric?
Yeah. Oh, sorry,
Okay,
Eric. My bad.
so
Yeah, my bad.
yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Okay, so my story is very similar to Joe's. I mean, I've been playing my first video game was like a thing that did Pong on a black and white TV, right? Like you had to screw it to the back of the TV with the screwdriver. Right? So like Commodore 64, like all the way through everything. We're old, right? Like
You guys got some
no
olds
doubt.
on the show today.
We are
people,
old.
This is
Yeah,
great.
we out
This is
here.
great.
Yeah, for real. So I don't know, probably 7-8 years ago, like I just write. Like I'm just one of those people that just writes, you know, and it doesn't matter if I have nothing to write about. I'll start blogging. I don't care. I just write and write. And I started thinking, I was a big fan of Game Informer back in the day. And I saw that they had this thing where you could just like write reviews and post them on their site just freely. And so I was like, I'll just find some games that they never reviewed and review them and plop them on their site, right? And a buddy of mine at work noticed that I was doing that, and he was like, "Hey, I know these guys that have this site, Gaming Nexus, and it's been around for years, and they're always looking for people to help out. How about I hook you up?"
Right.
I applied. Next thing you knew, I was same story as Joe, right? Like I just started writing articles. There's a little trial period. Eventually you start doing reviews, and I've just stuck long enough, you know, like I'm still here and kind of just worked my way up in the organization. I did leave for a little while and go to some like bigger sites, you know, but in the end I realized like, no, I just want to go home with my friends, you know, and go back to Gaming Nexus. So that's where I am, and that's where I'm going to stay for as long as I write about games.
Cool. So can we ask what the bigger sites were?
PSU.com primarily.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And when I say bigger, I don't mean like big. Like PSU is like a pretty good sized site, but it's not like I ran off to IGN or anything, you know.
Yeah, I was interested to know. I think that was the name I was sort of thinking. I was, we got the inner workings of IGN. Look,
no, but interestingly enough, like some people from IGN have come through Gaming Nexus. Like Gaming Nexus has been around for 30 years, right? And it's a very small local site, but there are people all over the industry that have come through Gaming Nexus over the years, just because it has been around for so long. You know, there are a lot of like PR people at different gaming companies, you know, people in development, people in media, all over the place. I don't even know who they all are, honestly. Every now and then somebody will pop up in the news, and one of the guys who's been around longer than I am are like, "Oh, they used to be one of our writers," you know.
Right. Cool. Well, look, I sort of want to dive straight into it, and there's questions obviously that we have as gaming fans, and you know that the gaming media can be, the gaming fans can be a little bit rabid. So look, Joe, I just wanted to ask you, like, how do you normally find responses to your reviews, and how did you sort of find that response to the Forspoken review? Were you surprised? Was it a shock? The response?
No. I said in the review, people are going to try to cyberpunk you out of playing this game. I wrote that. Like I wrote that because I knew how this was going to go. And I knew exactly people already hated it from the demo, right? They already hated it because it was Sony exclusive. It was $70, and people hated it from the demo. So automatically they had their minds made up.
Mm-hmm.
I figured whatever was going to happen happened. I just kept writing and writing and writing, and when I got to the end and I reviewed it and I looked it over, and I was like, here it is, and I just submitted it, and I was like, there it is, and inside baseball, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, inside baseball, Eric even was like, we're a day away from the world coming down on Joe for his Forspoken review. So we called it, right? We knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to point out too, Joe went through an evolution on this game. It's not like he popped it in and was like, this is the best game I ever played, right? Like, Joe, the first time you texted me, you fired up this game, and the first time you texted me, you're like, listen to this cringe. He took a snippet from his TV with his phone and texted me the snippet of like, listen how bad this dialogue is, right?
And it was preceded by, oh, Eric, this game's dialogue is trash.
Yeah, like right out of the gate, he was not a fan, right? And to the point where I was like, oh shit, he's gonna like trash this game. Like he's gonna give it like a really low score. But then as he kept playing it, he just kept texting me like, oh, like this combat is actually kind of fun. And then, oh, this traversal system, this is actually looking pretty good. And then, like at a certain point, I felt it go past this tipping point, right? Like he tipped, and then at the end, he was like, "If people aren't playing this game to the end, they're not gonna understand. Like you gotta go to the end." And I haven't played the game. I don't give a shit about Forspoken, honestly. Like I'm not gonna play it. But
well, Joe, I got a question for you on it though.
Shoot.
Because so my thing on it is, and people are allowed to change their opinions over time when they play something. That's fair, right?
Yeah.
But did the dialogue for you ever get better? Because from what I've seen, and I've seen, like I watched playthroughs, even later in game, it was still terrible.
Well, it did. As soon as I felt like Forspoken answered the question, if one of us, regular ass people, and that's not saying anything about anybody, right? We're here on a podcast. We're just sitting here. If we saw a motherfucking dragon, what would we do? You know what I mean? I had to eventually, it does get better. I think it does. It was cringe for me. It was weird for me at the beginning because I was like, man, she hates everybody. And the game continues. You're like, damn, she hates everybody. She just wants to get home. She's a selfish bitch. And then it continues. And I was like, oh, I get it, right? Like, she just wants to go home. And they just keep sending her on. Well, if you want to go home, you got to go do this. And she's like, fine. And then she goes do it. And then she comes back and she has a little sympathy. And then everything starts to get weird. And they go, okay, well, if you want to go home and you're still being selfish, go out and do this. And you're just like, well, fuck. And so I am literally texting Eric going through these emotions with the character. And eventually I let out this, oh my God.
But let me ask you a question, because I haven't watched playthroughs. I played the demo. I put a good hour into it, and it killed it almost that hour. Like that was a slog. Like it was hard.
Sure.
Like I was like relieved when I got to the end because of the mechanics. I'm gonna say like it, and I think in the demo they sort of gave you a bit of a broader view of the powers. So you had a lot more stuff than you would have had when you started the actual game. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, cool.
You actually get 4 full magic palettes, if you will, I guess. You get so you start with the demo gave you the earth and the fire, and then you get lightning and ice or water or whatever as the game goes on. So there's 4.
But here's the question. Here's the question. So she's homeless, right?
Yes.
What the hell is there to go back to? You're a hero in a land of like.
Listen. She wanted to. I don't empathize with her on this one, but she wanted to get back to her cat.
Right. I can get that. I love my dog. Couldn't they
see what I'm saying?
Couldn't they just transport the cat to her? Anyway, look, Okay, look, another question.
I have a question. I have a question.
Shoot.
Okay, Joe, do you think that if you in your review sort of prefaced the article by saying, look, I went into this game with no bias. Like I actually didn't like this game when I first started to play it. Do you think that might have changed people's reaction?
Maybe, right?
Because
Maybe.
the vibe that I got was
Super positive.
almost painfully positive.
Yeah.
And I don't and I'm
That's
sort of
fair.
hearing something completely different talking to you now. So I don't know if you've considered maybe if you've when you go to review a game and you do write your review, I think you need to include where you're starting from. And if you're starting from a place of bias, people automatically assume if you're going to write something positive about any platform, any platform exclusive game,
Yeah.
you love that platform, and that automatically is going to be assigned to you unless you inform people that no, that's not the case. I actually found the dialogue really annoying at first.
Yeah, and maybe I didn't state it in I say it's a roller coaster of a video game that makes a very slow ascent to the top, and then it shoots you through its loops twist, all while standing backwards, screaming your lungs out. That's what I said. So I mean, I can't say this enough, and I'm gonna probably say this a lot through this whole show. I like the game, and I know people did not, and I know there are people who would not or whatnot, but I liked it.
Yeah,
So,
look,
Yes, but you didn't go in
and-
thinking that you would.
That's
correct.
Yeah, that's a kind of
I got a different question on it, actually.
Oh,
Joe,
here we
that
go.
you
The
said
boys
that.
are warming up.
Yeah,
So-
let's go. I'm here.
So what I was going to lead to, I played about 2 hours and maybe, I don't know, half of it on the demo. Absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
Not just the dialogue, but the fact of, I like the traversal. I do agree with you there. It's kind of fun, somewhat, whatever. It's cool. But the weight of the enemies when you're hitting them, nothing. Didn't feel a thing. The attacks were whatever. They didn't really impress me. I did like the particle effects a bit, I guess. But then I didn't get super far. And I did see some in the playthrough where when you get really far, you get way better upgrades and stuff. So I can see why it would impress people later on. So I get that. What I was going to ask is, see, you said I like this, and I don't hear love, but you gave it a 9.5, and 9.5 to me sounds like love. So did you just like it, or did you love it? And if you liked it, what did you feel about, and how did you get to a 9.5 and scored that over like something like The Witcher 3, which you gave a 9?
Well, can I sort of add to that before you answer as well?
I didn't give The Witcher 3 anything.
Yeah, you
I
didn't.
didn't-
You didn't do
That's
the review.
a different writer. Different writer.
Absolutely. But it kind of folds
Alright.
into I wanted and Eric as well. This is sort of for you. The Witcher did get a 9.5 within the same platform, so that's within Gaming Nexus, right? So what I wanted to ask is, and look, I don't think there's any planet on which we can say that The Witcher 3 and Forspoken are in the same ballpark, or I just don't think that's true. Maybe you do, Joe, and that's fine. And that's very subjective. But I wanted to ask and riff off Umbra's question. What's your process? Sort of how do you get to the scores? And is there a framework for that within Gaming Nexus, or is that just different for everyone?
There is a framework, but there's not like a rubric, right? So it's not like we have some mathematical equation that people go through and they're like, oh, okay, these graphics are an 8 and this sound design is a 7 and the story is a 10 and that leads to blah. No, we don't have that. So, and also I want to say we don't, the internet, when we put this review out, it very much wanted to say, what, you're saying this is as good as this, and you're saying this is as good as that. We don't score games against other games, right? So it's not like I pull up a chart of all the games that we gave a 10 and all the games that we gave a 9.5 and go, yeah, this one doesn't really fit in there, because I didn't play the game, you know? So in the end, it's up to the individual writer what they feel it is, right? I saw Joe at the time that he did this writing, loved this game. He hit a certain point where I think there was a boss fight or something he texted me about, and he was like, this game just like jumped in my estimation from this boss fight. Like it just gets better and better and better as it goes, right? So I think he wrote from the perspective of where he landed on the game. Like, he finished the game. At the end, he loved it. I'm not going to sit there and question his judgment and try to talk him down out of loving a game that he loves, right?
Oh, and that's Eric.
I will.
That. So you know that I write for a website as well, and my editor has actually. This is more of a question about how you coach and guide the writers that you manage.
Yeah.
We receive a guide. You know, we have a guide to what we write. A lot of consideration and thought is put into how people are going to receive it and what that will mean for us and our website. Now, you say that you were aware that this was going to be a source of contention in the community, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I understand that you were, if someone loves a game, you respect that. That's all well and good. But was this clickbait?
No, we don't.
God, no.
we don't do clickbait. We don't care about clicks. We don't count clicks. We're a non-funded site.
So we.
Yeah, so we go weeks at a time without even looking at like what our click count is. So no, it was absolutely not. This is the review that Joe turned into me, and I asked him a few questions about it. I tightened up a little bit of the grammar, and poof, out it went.
So do you only check grammar?
No, absolutely not.
No.
But I can't check it against my own personal experience with the game because I did not play the game. I'm not going to play the game.
I'm more of a critical sort of editor's eye as how this is going to make us look, that kind of thing.
So for instance,
look to who?
To the public.
Okay, for instance,
let me answer, Joe. Let me answer.
Okay.
So it's interesting that you say to the public, because the public is a very large space, right?
All the gaming community, whoever you think. Everyone has a demographic.
Yeah, let him finish.
Sure. Okay, so like when we're really looking at what happened with this review, we're talking about this bad reaction to the review, right? This review got a bad reaction. So just to throw a number out there, let's say this review got 100,000 views, right? 100,000 people read this review. Okay. 30 people on Twitter felt the need to make negative comments about it. 30. Out of those, about 50% are clearly just like bot accounts. Yeah, they're like accounts that were made with zero. They got 0 followers. They're just there to talk shit about this Forspoken review, right? That leaves us with like 15 out of 100,000, right? And like half of those were there because they were, Xbox folks that were mad about it or whatever. They had some sort of like
I feel attacked.
Right, you know what I'm saying though, right? So in reality, the big negative response to this review is this tiny, minuscule little percentage of readers, right? And I'm going to say that 90% of those didn't read the review. They didn't click through.
90% are Xbots. I'm like,
no, not at all.
Never.
No,
Hi-Fi Rush is a great game.
Like,
there you go, Joe.
We are Xbox fans, right? Like, just because we have other consoles don't mean that we hate on the Xbox. So like, no, but what I'm saying is that like a lot of this talk about like the negative responses is like really overblown, right? It's this tiny little echo chamber of people who hop on, they write a nasty little comment, and then they disappear into the ether and you never hear from them again. And they never think about it again, right? Like they just like pop on, say something shitty and disappear. And,
yeah, but
and
did
move on to the next thing.
Did 100,000 people read it?
I haven't even looked at the numbers. I'm just pulled that number out of my ass, right?
Yeah.
But it was a lot. Like it
to
got a
support
lot.
your point, I don't know.
So
Eric,
yeah.
I got one question for you, Eric. How do you decide who you give the review to? So, did you give Joe the review because he likes that type of game? Like, did you know that he was gonna like it going into it? Is that a decision you as editor would make, or do you just give it to whoever is up for that week?
Not necessarily. Yeah, it kind of comes into whoever's up for the week, whoever has bandwidth, right? Like, I mean, I will answer anything about how our site is run. We are a volunteer site, right? We do not get paid. We all have full-time jobs. So we end up reviewing, I would say, less than 5% of the games that were offered. Like we just don't have that much bandwidth. So like if I throw a game out there and I'm like, hey, Forspoken, anybody want it? And Joe puts up his hand and goes, yeah, all right, cool. I'm like, here you go, man. Like if you got the time to do it, go for it.
So you sort of don't lean to so then in that way there is sort of an inherent bias towards a genre of game, right?
I don't know if there's an inherent bias.
Well, there sort of is
because people have specialties, but Joe, this is not Joe's specialty. That's the thing that's interesting, is because Joe plays a lot of beat 'em ups, right? Yeah. Joe's a fighting game guy and a beat 'em up guy, and so this is kind of outside his lane.
Well, sort of that sort of goes to my other thing in within this. I mean, generally there would sort of be an inherent bias because I'm like, say someone offered me something to review. I don't review. Well, I have done a couple of reviews of games, but if someone would offer one, I would be like, shit, okay. And it has happened. And I'm like, is this my type of game? If it's not my type of game, I'm probably not going to want to play it. And then I'm going to review it poorly, right? So conversely, if someone has a better knowledge, I mean, I'm just not saying it's bad either way if there's an inherent bias towards a game because, realistically, if someone likes RPGs, they're going to know a lot more about RPGs and have the knowledge around what they should expect within a good RPG. So yeah, I guess the question is like, do you sometimes, I mean, for instance, if it's not his game, not his type of game, is there I'm not having a go, Joe, but is there a lack of knowledge around this sort of a game and the things that should be there and how it should be?
No, because because I know Joe on such a personal level, like, no, I know he has enough knowledge to, like, his gaming history is so deep and wide. I know he's a Final Fantasy 15 guy. He's the only lunatic who liked Final Fantasy 13. Like, I know he has history.
I love Final Fantasy 13. Let me make that clear. And I played it on Xbox, guys.
Yeah. So I think like the word bias to me feels a little poison, like I don't think like bias, because bias is like you come into it with an agenda,
preconceived ideas.
with an agenda, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what I think. I mean, people have their opinions, people have their likes, people have their genres that they're into and their genres that they're not into, right? Like, I don't play shooters. I don't like shooters very much. Every now and then I'll make a go at reviewing one because, like, if it's a big one and nobody else is gonna do it, I'll take a stab at it. Shit, But like, I don't think that's a bias. I think that's just my own personal taste.
Can I throw something out there for just a little bit? I've been really enjoying this conversation, but I kind of, and it's not necessarily a question, but just an observation and maybe what you guys think about that. It seems to me. And just so you guys know, I wasn't familiar with Gaming Nexus, so when Riskit was kind enough to invite me on the call to the podcast, I did my due diligence, read the review, read a bunch of reviews that you guys have done, and I was surprised to find that exactly as you guys were saying. Not surprised, but it was refreshing to see that down home, almost kind of a grassroots kind of a local paper vibe to Gaming Nexus, which I thought was really cool. So I will be paying attention more to what you guys do moving forward. My observation is I was part of that, the time where Forspoken was really high and people talking about it. And it seems to me, and please let me know if I'm off base or not, but it seems to me that you guys kind of caught this perfect storm of, there's been conversation about how certain platforms do if you don't conform. If you understand what I'm saying, hey, if you don't say what we want you to say, you're not getting another review code or something to that effect, right?
Oh,
and Forspoken came out, Forspoken came out and it was being dashed across the board. Now, obviously, how a game plays and how you like it, that's all subjective. I, for one, I played the demo on the PC, finished it, played the demo on the PS5, finished it, played the demo on the Steam Deck, did not finish it because it runs really badly there. And then I bought the game on the PC, and I'm about 4 hours in right now. So, like, there are some parts of Joe's review that I agree with, and then some parts that I completely don't agree with. But I think possibly the reason for the questions and the prodding is you guys kind of caught this perfect storm of, you have other reviewers, and at the same time, this was out there, right? You have other reviewers saying, look, we're not going to get to review this thing day one because we said something bad about the overlords before, and now we're not getting a code, right? And then as soon as that comes out, you guys, the news hit of you guys with your 9.5 out of 10. So I feel like that kind of skewed the conversation to, oh, we know what they were doing, right? And that may be why you guys are getting a lot of the heat you're getting now. You see where I'm coming from with it a little bit?
I do see what you're coming from. But the thing is that when you receive a code from a PR, from a company, from a developer, a publisher or whatever, you have no idea who else is getting codes, right? And like, I know that you can like jump onto Twitter and like people are on there ranting and raving because they didn't get one or whatever. I don't pay any attention to that shit. I don't follow any of those people. So when you get one, you're like totally in the dark, right? Further, when you're writing a review, you have no idea what the other reviews are going to say, right? Like with the case of Forspoken, like you kind of know there's boiling discourse in the background of the public being kind of like, Forspoken, blah, but you don't know until the day that goes live and bloop, all those reviews turn on if you're going to be an outlier or not. Right. And it's happened to me before too. I've been an outlier on a review, and it's like, oh god damn it, it's just
and you know what? Talk about outliers. I bet you I can be an outlier right now. Like my take on Forspoken is I don't like it, but it's because I feel like Square has an agenda. Every time they come out, every time they speak, and for those who know who I am, every time they speak, every time they represent, they don't look or position people that look like me in the best light. And this is one of the prime examples of that. And it irked the hell out of me every time I play that game.
So
I can
the language, the way they talk.
By the way, Joe, since
it's
it was brought
so
up,
frustrating.
One thing I noticed is that you said that you were a big fan of Final Fantasy 15, and those same developers, some of them at least, worked on this, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of that thing. It's probably just your thing. You know what I mean? So
Possibly. Yeah.
And Umbra, I didn't mean to ignore your question earlier either.
Oh no, brother, it was like 18 questions piled on after that. Trust me, I didn't. And I thought that you had wrote that because that's what I was told at one point. We were discussing it when we were going over questions, but it wasn't you to actually review Witcher 3. So my bad on that one. But
I love where you're coming from, Joe. I really do. I love that you've come from grassroots and you're giving your time to give your review. And I believe your review is honest. And I believe, all gaming is subjective. And I do love that. Like, the fact that you don't get paid means that you love gaming. I get all of that. But in your review, you say you haven't played any of the God of Wars. You haven't played any of the Soulsborne. You haven't played any of the Horizon games. And I just think there needs to be a little bit of comparison when you're playing, an open world action adventure game, compared to those games. And the only problem I have, and I get it's all subjective, is when people read your review and you're giving it a 95. Gaming is a very expensive hobby, and people will buy the game on the back of your review. And then they might not enjoy it as much as you have because you haven't played those games, because you have no idea, like, that you've got nothing to compare it to, and those games might be that much better. And so this is where I have a little bit of a problem, that you have reach, you have a voice out there in the community that can really harm people that don't have that much money. And so that's kind of the point of, do you ever feel that responsibility sometimes?
Yes and no. Again, I say inside baseball a lot because I think it's just funny to say. But inside baseball, I wrote in that review, and it was edited out, that I would never, ever pay $70 for a game. It's just not in me to do. I don't care what the game is. I don't care if it's God of War or Forspoken. $70 is a lot, and we that's gone, right? It got taken out. It got taken out because there's sometimes where I just go a little too far with.
No. The reason that got taken out is just because we don't discuss games in terms of their price. That's all.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I
thought,
actually was going to ask that question. Because Pete makes
I'm
a really valid
staunchly
point.
anti $70 too, Joe. So I'm with you there.
there you go.
Yeah, but see, look,
but
I'm
It's $120 in Australia. It's a joke.
129 actually. So
Yeah.
I'm not anti 70 if the game's worth it to me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And to Peter's point, real quick, about the comparison, like I read that part of the review as well, and that part, like, again, by and large, just like Peter said, I believe your review. You know, I found it refreshing. The site is great. You know, all that. But when you said you hadn't, like, specifically, for Forbidden West and all of that, there is a direct comparison. And you said you hadn't played them, and if you did, you couldn't compare them because nothing is like this. That is inherently, unfortunately, like, inaccurate because you wouldn't know that. And if you played them both, you know there's a lot to compare. There is a lot to compare. So
I think it's actually pretty fair of Joe to say, I didn't play this, I didn't play this, I didn't play this. So if you're looking
that's
for a
fine.
comparison with these games, this ain't it.
Look
This is not the
elsewhere.
one for
Yes,
you, right?
Look elsewhere.
And
of
to
course.
Pete's point, like I really appreciate what you're saying about, like, people could make their buying decisions, you know, based on what we say. But I will also add that we are a voice and a chorus, right? Like, we are not the only review out there. There are, I don't know, God, how many reviews were posted for this thing? Like 50, 90, I don't know.
71.
A lot.
Yeah,
right.
A lot. Yeah.
So, like, if somebody is just looking at our review and they're, oh, he didn't play Elden Ring, maybe this isn't the guy for me, right? Pop over to one of the other reviews, see what you can find, right? Yeah. Like, we are a voice, we are a opinion. We don't purport to be the voice or the opinion, right? Like, we're not trying to, like, be the definitive judgment on this game. This is one guy's experience with this game. He's telling you what he thought.
Should you act as if you are? In that, I'm not saying that at all, because I think after going through your reviews, going through Joe's reviews, going through all your writers' reviews, going back through your history, which I did all that, spent a lot of time doing it this week. And what I found was that you guys, I believe that you're a genuine site. That you guys hold a lot of integrity, and I've got a lot of respect for your publication. I just found the review a bit off, but this is why we're here, obviously. But do you think that you should act as you are, just to kind of hold that integrity that you have?
I think that it would be a loss of integrity if I asked Joe to misrepresent his gaming history for the sake of a review.
Oh, definitely not saying that.
I think it would be a loss of integrity for us to act as an authority that we are not, right? Like, we're an independent site. The only authority we answer to is each other. We keep each other on the up and up. We maintain that sense of integrity amongst ourselves, right? And it's something that we cling to and that we adhere to and that we're very proud of. And so, but on the other hand, we do openly acknowledge, if you look at our About Us on GamingNexus.com, it openly says, like, we are gaming writers, we are not gaming journalists, we are amateurs, we are open about this, right? We are not the end-all be-all authority on video games. You know, we play a game, we're going to give you our real opinion, and sometimes that real opinion does not fall in line with the zeitgeist, right? And that's just how it happens. And it's funny because we're here talking about Forspoken. Every game that releases, there's always an outlier. It's just not always us, right? Like, every game that releases, there's some weirdo out there giving it a 10, right? And I always look at it on Metacritic like, oh, that poor bastard. Like, he's gonna really, like, catch it now. But it just so happened to be that it was us for this game.
Well, look, that
we were the outlier.
that kind of brings me
Yeah,
to
I really
like,
think you guys caught that perfect storm of
definitely did.
oh crap, here it comes, and it's not
I
really
agree,
necessarily y'all's fault. I think.
But sort of
I
that's
100%
something I
agree
wanted
with
to
that.
ask. Like as a writer, and obviously we work with Cutie closely, so we do get some of the inside track on what they have to deal with on a daily basis. But I wanted to ask you guys, as a publication that's been going for, did you say 30 years?
Yeah.
Is which is almost the beginning of gaming right there. What's the biggest hurdle? Like, how do you deal with the hardcore in the community? Is it something that affects your reviews? Like, I mean, you said there you were like, oh my god, this poor bastard's going to cop it, right? Does that come into your mind when you're writing the reviews? I obviously don't think it affects your reviews just based on the Forspoken review. Because if you didn't see that coming, I don't know what to tell you. Like, but what does it come into your mind? Like, does it at all? Do you have those conversations where you're like, "Oh, dude, are you ready for this? Like, are you sure you want to put this out?"
I don't, because it doesn't, because Eric said earlier, right? 30 was it 30 comments? 30?
Yeah.
30 Twitter 30. How many people are in the world? How many people game? How many of those people game? How many of those people are black? How many people have played the game, right? I can't sit here and go, oh shit, the 20 people who are gonna hate this game are gonna come for me. The 15 people who don't even watch the stream, don't even play Sony games are gonna come on my YouTube and say what they want. I can't worry about that. I can't. It's that if there's something that's messing with my integrity, it's that. It's definitely trying to adhere to every single person on the internet. Nah, I can't. So I can't let that sway me at all.
Well, that's
Yeah, and I will also say, like, for us to get kind of called out like this, or like be in the center of attention like this, it's kind of rare, and
It's
realistically, you can just make it all go away by just like clicking the X on Twitter.
That's right.
Just stay off there for a while. Like, if we wanted to, we could hop into our Twitter account and just delete that post like it never happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not that
big of a
critical
deal.
of
Yeah,
a consideration. Like, of course we want people to enjoy what we write, and of course there are going to be people that disagree with us, and of course every now and then they're going to say mean things about us, but in the end, like I said, they're a very small minority, and you certainly can't keep that in mind while you're like reviewing a game or playing a
sort
game,
of
right?
You know what, mate? Not all of them would have come onto a show like ours and actually backed up what they wrote, and I will always applaud you for that. So
definitely.
I think we all
guys.
agree to that. You guys are willing to come here and have this constructive conversation, and I'm reading the chat right now. People are appreciative of the fact that you're able to open the door and share things that normal reviewers wouldn't, and we appreciate that, the ability for this back and forth. So clearly, and I think that's what this conversation will present. Clearly, I keep saying it. You guys just happen to be the stars of the show this time around, but I don't think anybody can take this conversation away and go, well, they were just trying to hit that button so PlayStation would be happy with it. That's seemingly not the case here.
That's not what I'm getting from you guys, for sure.
Yeah,
I will say though, people are definitely going to be on your ass, Joe. If you gave this
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, okay, I was just about to say,
Umbra, I'm here for it, bro. Like,
you better not give God of War like an 8 or something.
Listen, Asante and Umbra.
How did you give Moonscar?
I got other things to worry about, and you know what I'm talking about, brother. Like,
of course,
I'm good over here. I'm not worried about no damn Twitter review. Nah, I got other things to worry about. I got to drive to the store.
Well, listen,
that's all I'm saying.
Let's sort of bring it back a little bit back to gaming. I just want to ask as well, because there's a few questions that I want to direct towards the actual review. I think we have had a few, but is technical performance a factor in your review, right? And did you not?
Question.
Like, look, I'm going to be brutally blunt here. Do you have glasses? Do you not see frames? Like, what sort of happened here? I mean, Like I
Did you
said
I
to you,
say in the
Did you play
review.
this on a 4090 with the biggest graphics
I
card?
say in the review. I say in the review that I played on a PS5 on a 55-inch OLED TV in performance mode because
at 720p,
4K 30
yeah,
was terrible and ray tracing was worse.
right.
Yes.
Right, but I've heard it
So,
drops to 720p, and I know you're not getting up to the. I know you're not walking. And I said this to you when I was talking to you, man. On DMs, I'm like, I know you're not walking up to the screen with a ruler and measuring pixels on pause. I know you're not doing that, right? But you surely would have noticed it dropped to 720p. I mean, so like, I got to ask, man. Are you taking a point off? Are you taking a point off for 720p? I got to ask.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, man. Like, you're talking
That's
to a guy
something that you don't consider.
who has a Switch. I play games on the Switch, and that
Enough
some of that
said,
shit gets
sir.
to
Enough
a
said.
crawl. Come
So you
on,
used to
man.
the
He
15
just said
frames a second and
Come
all that.
on,
He just
man.
said he games on the abacus. We hear you.
I
sir.
gave
We hear you.
I gave him the abacus. Let's be honest here. Let's keep it all the way on 100, man. Like,
I gotta say, if you look back at my reviews, 90% of the time I don't even bring up the graphics, right? Like I don't even talk about like, well, this is a good looking game, or like go any deeper than that. Like, this is pretty good looking. Like that's just not something that is a concern to me. Like I talk about the gameplay and the mechanics and the systems and the story and the writing and all this other stuff, and then maybe a little bit like, and it was kind of shiny, like, so again, every writer has their own opinion, right? And their own
But to
focus.
be fair, though, I suspect the reason why they're specifically bringing up the graphics part is whether it's good or not, or whether you're a pixel peeper or not, it's not the case. But this was kind of detrimental to the experience, and it wasn't called out.
It was especially bad within this game, and even on the demo, it struggled. And I was like, "Whoa, dude!"
The demo you can kind of shrug away because it may not be final code.
That's
but the final code is just as bad.
But also the other thing was with this game, like this was not what they showed us. Like this was not what we saw. And I was in and I kept my mouth shut about this game for a really long time. Like, I don't know if you can go back through podcast. I didn't say much. Like, I will dodge. If I'm not sure about a game, I'll dodge any questions about it until I have, like, formed an opinion based on something that's solid, like a fact. And the demo to me was solid. And when I looked at that, I was like, man, this is not what they said. And I was a little bit excited about this game. And, man, I don't like Square and I don't like the way Square operates, but if they make a good game, I'm going to play it because I don't give a shit. Like at the end of the day, I'm not supporting, I don't see it as supporting developers or I'm like propping up a company with the one purchase that I make. Like to me, it's just, I'm a gamer, I want to play games. And I was fucking disappointed, man, with this one. This one looked like it was going to be okay.
I remember you watching that podcast or that show, Riskit, and as soon as they announced the demo, you said you were going to download it immediately. So I remember how excited you were to play this game.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It just wasn't. It didn't hit for me. I understand what you're saying, but so for me, the performance did affect it, and I was just wondering. So, look, not 720p, not 60 frames a second, but overall, do you take it into account? Do you think you should, guys? Like. In a situation like this, where it's a product, right? Whereas a product that was offered to you, man, like it was a chair without a seat in it. Like, do you think that should be sort of affect the review?
That's funny, dude. So, all right, I'll let Joe talk in a sec, but just real quick, it's funny because I have this conversation with my son all the time. My son is 23, and he is like a way bigger gamer than I am, right? Like he lives and dies. When Gotham Knights came out, he had it pre-ordered.
Oh boy.
And he canceled the pre-order when he found it was 30 frames. And I was like, dude, what are you like? What the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Like, you were so amped for this game. He's like, oh, that's just not the sort of shit I want to support, Dad. And I was like, you are out of your damn mind, right? Like, and so like. I'm of an age, maybe it's not my age. It's got nothing to do with my age. I am a person, I just do not give a shit about frames per second, resolution, ray tracing, like all the things that people seem to get so amped up about online. I just don't. not
Come
my
on,
deal,
some
you
of the
know.
textures don't even load. Like the
But I
whole
think-
game.
Well, I'm
doesn't
not
even
talking
load
about this
textures.
game. I have not played this
Okay,
game.
okay.
I'm not
I
not
just-
speaking to this game. I'm just talking about
Okay.
like when I write a review, I take none of that shit
Mhm.
into consideration. Like
Okay, so
none
you
of it.
don't
But if
take-
you are
so can I
playing
just
it
confirm
and
it?
it does show you that, you would say something about that, wouldn't you? Right?
So-
like I hear you, and I'll let you speak, Cutie.
Yeah.
I apologize. I just want to establish that even though you don't pixel peep, and nobody needs to pixel peep, some people do, some people don't, and that's not the point. But if you were
Yeah.
playing a game for review, and all of a sudden you're like getting into a car, and the car is a big block thing with square wheels, you'd say something about that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If it's like busted,
go.
if it's like terrible performance, yes, yeah, for
And
sure.
that is in this
Like,
game.
we're not-
Yes. But
we're not-
continue.
yeah. I mean, okay,
Not
so
digital
that was
foundry,
in.
I
I'll say
didn't.
that was in some people's experience of this game.
Mhm.
I
Right.
reviewed
I
a
didn't see
game
that.
not too long ago that people
Okay.
swore up and down was just the buggiest shit on the planet. I played through the entire game, almost 40 hours, and didn't see any of
Oh.
that. Right? I'm talking
I
Saints
played
Row
through
here.
Cyberpunk.
It-
I played through Cyberpunk and had the best experience. Everybody still hates it. I still think it's a masterpiece.
Same.
I understand.
I
Right.
agree.
I
Yes,
understand.
I agree, Kay.
Loved
I do.
it.
I agree
Same-
that
same
too,
here.
brother.
Biggest trash.
But then again, I
game
played it
the
on a
planet.
beast
Absolutely.
PC, so it makes sense, right? Like I played
I
on a
played on
PC
the-
where
I
that
played on the One
experience
X.
wasn't there.
I played
Right,
on the
so-
Series
At the
X.
time.
First game I got, I played on the Series X, and I found it fine.
So getting off
No,
track,
so
and I
quickly-
want to jump back to Cutie because Cutie wanted to jump in there with a question. So Cutie,
Please, yes. Apologies, yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm. So you don't consider graphics or price when you review a game?
Okay, so I'm speaking about my own personal review process, right? And price, I definitely do not. No, I don't
Okay,
feel
so-
that price is an indicator of what a score of how a game plays and
No,
reviews
I
should
don't
be.
mean that. I don't mean that. I mean, if
Walk
you
like a
pay
shotgun.
full price
Johnny
for a
Appleseed in a
game
plant into the
and
ground.
the graphics are letting you down, how can you give a game a 9.5?
I'm guessing that Joe didn't feel let down by the graphics.
I wasn't let down by the graphics.
Okay.
quick answer, quick fire.
That was honestly, I had my mic muted, but that was hilarious. How he just came in and answered that right after that. But
He's like,
Yeah, I mean, I hear
like
you guys.
720p. I like
I
it at
like
30
it a
frames.
lot.
a second.
I feel like I hear you guys on that. I mean, like you said, I mean, you made a good point too, Eric. Like everybody's experience is different when it comes to that. And we pointed out with Cyberpunk, that's a great example because like Kay, I didn't have that issue either. I had maybe one glitch and it didn't do anything major negatively.
Yeah, a
to
couple
the
T
impact the
poses. That
game.
was about it. Yeah.
Not even that for me. I think it was like a car, I don't know, something stupid, but it didn't even, it was barely anything. But I will say, when it comes to this, because we're on such high-end consoles now with, that so capable of doing so many things, it does seem like you would have to bring up frames and resolution. Like that seems like something that would have to be a part of the equation for me. Price wise, that's something I would bring into it just because I am so anti $70. So if I'm buying something or something is priced at such a high price and it's not up to the level and standard of that, I think that's something that needs to be mentioned too. But that's just how I see it. So respect to how you guys see it, but it's just my thinking.
No, yeah, no, I hear you absolutely. The thing is that I think each individual writer, I think each individual site, I think everybody, in the gaming journalism industry, which God is just a shit show, man. Like I feel bad for people that actually do this for a job because it's just like layoff every day, layoff. Each person has their own approach, right? And each site has their own approach, and there's no guiding standard across the industry, right? There's no one way to do it, and nobody ever sat down and wrote a book that said how to review video games, and then we all had to read it, So I think everybody, at least for our site, I can't speak for other sites, but I think we're out here doing our best with the limited resources that we have. And, like, it's a lot to ask somebody to do a review. Like, it's a lot. It's
I get
50
your
hours of your
job.
time just playing the game, and
I
then,
get it's not your
like
job
thinking
to be
through it and
digital
writing it.
foundry. I understand that. But in saying that, when performance modes dropping to 40 frames, it's very noticeable unless you've got VR, VRR on. So it is noticeable. Does that affect your experience of the game? Possibly not, but in an action title, I think it would. Dropping down to 720p as well in performance mode isn't optimal. I think the game could have been optimized more. I understand where you're coming from. You guys aren't Digital Foundry. I typically don't really let that affect my gaming experience too much either. But I don't know. It would have lost the point or two for me.
No, it's a fair point to you. You know, like I don't think we're gonna like come to a decision. You know, or not. Like we're just gonna have to agree that there are different ways of doing it, and I do absolutely see what you're saying here.
Is this like just after the conversation that we've had? Do you think it's probably something that you'll? I mean, because it is probably not to the greater and wider community, and you've sort of stated like how you sort of see the public and the effect that they sort of have on reviews, and I get that and I understand that, and I would look, if I'm operating from a place of integrity, I'm operating from a place where I don't give a fuck what other people think. In the way that I'm writing a review for other people, but it doesn't color the way that I write a review. And I kind of see that with you guys. I respect it. I really do. But do you think that going forward, it might be something that you'd sort of maybe mention to the writers, or, just with the new generation, the way things are happening these days, as Umbra said.
We have writers that do this religiously. Mm-hmm. Like we've got one guy who's just like, and I played it in performance and it got this and I played it, and so like it's not, but I'm not going to dictate that people have to have it in the reviews. No, no, because like I know when I sit down to play a game on a new generation console, I flip it to performance, I run around for a little bit, I flip it to resolution or whatever the other thing is. I run around for a little bit. I'm like, all right, that one looks okay. That one looks shitty. And I just play the game, right? Like, I don't even really stop to think about it all that much. So, no, I'm not going to include it in my reviews. It's up to Joe 100% if he wants to. Joe, and like I said, many of the guys on our site do.
Same question, Joe. Would you think going forward that maybe you'll pay a little bit more of attention, or you're like, nah? If I'm liking the game, I'm liking the game.
I mean,
nope.
I don't even know how to answer that question, and here's why. I don't even know how to answer that question. I'll tell you why. Because
very measured.
Yeah, I feel like, man, because again, I put it in that 4K 30. And everybody's like, and you can play it in 4K 120 if you have the TV capable to do that with VRR and all that, shit. Yeah, sure. And it still didn't look good. It still didn't look like it still didn't look like a game I wanted to play. So I put that shit right back in performance mode, and I played the hell out of it, right? And again at the beginning, I was like, oh, I wasn't even worried about the resolution. I was worried about Frey cussing everybody out in town when she didn't know where the fuck she was, and she was just saying fuck all the time, fuck. And I was just like, oh god, this is just a teen who's or 21-year-old just running her mouth. And then as the game progressed, I was like, oh, this is a 21-year-old in a world she does not know. I'm a 45-year-old, and if I saw that, yeah, this sounds about right? And I'm just going through. So no, yes, I don't know. Like to make anyone happy, I just started streaming God of War.
I'm getting a maybe.
You don't
out of
sound
this.
45 at all, by the way, Joe.
Thank you.
At all.
Thank you.
Well, look, listen. So Eric, then I'll ask.
He's 45.
I'm interested to know, and like we're talking about this in the background. We do sort of topics once a week where we all sit down and ask. And one of the questions that sort of popped up is like, how do you go about recruiting talent? Like, what are you looking for? And I think Cutie sort of asked the question, but I'll just sort of refine it slightly. How do you sort of foster that talent within the company? Say you pick up someone who's not really a writer, but you see something with them. How do you sort of foster that talent? How do you bring them on? What's that process sort of look like?
That is interesting. So it's a little bit of a process, right? So right now we're nearly fully staffed. but it is a volunteer organization. People come and go. So when we are down, we throw a little banner up on the site, like, hit us up, we throw it on Twitter and so on. And we usually get a couple of applicants, and then we ask them to do some sample writing for us. And I'll be honest, at least 75% of the people end up ghosting us after we ask them to write a sample, right? So just getting somebody to like come in and stick is a project, because it is an obligation. I think people hear it and they're like, oh, I can write about video games. Oh, I'll get free video games. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I like reading about video games like that. And then they get in there and they're like, oh, what do you mean I got to play the whole game? Like I have to beat the game? And then like, oh.
You write a
So you all
report
have
and
a
not
mandate
get
to
paid
beat
for
the
it?
entire game? Is that the case? You have to beat the entire game?
So let me,
That's a
I got it
positive
right.
to me, actually, I have to say,
Yeah,
if that's the
I
case.
got it right here. Let me see.
So this is your
Finish-
parameters for a review. This is
This is just one of the pieces. Yeah, finish any games you review unless extreme circumstances such as bugs prevent you from doing so. For sandbox games, MMOs, and other never-ending games, do as much as you can in the time allotted. Unlock as many features as possible. Play through all available scenarios and modes. Achieve the highest character level you are able to, etc.
Nice.
It is
That's
your
actually a very
responsibility.
good positive. That's a good positive right there for you guys, for sure. Because so
Play it
many
as
people
thoroughly
I've
as
noticed
possible.
don't do that. Yeah, that's good. A lot of sites I noticed, and we've all seen it, where they, like the infamous Cuphead guy who couldn't get past the tutorial and was like, "Oh, this game is trash." So when you guys actually have the part of it, the mandate is to actually finish the game. I think that matters a lot, barring any extremities. So
Yeah,
think it's
and I mean, Doom
really
Cutie could
good
probably
positive.
speak to this too. Sometimes that is hard when you're
Yeah.
playing a game before it's come out, especially goddamn a puzzle game before it comes out. Oh my god! And you can't like just jump online and find out what the
Oh.
answer is. Like it is
Yeah.
it is
What was
tough.
that game? What was that game we had that was very puzzle like but not disgusting? Scorn. Something like that. for
Scorn.
instance.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did Scorn. I
beat that
was
myself.
I was the Scorn victim. And we had 3 days to get through it, right? And I work
Yeah.
full time, right? And that's the other thing is that there's these crazy time constraints, right?
Yeah.
So like here's a 50-hour game, beat that shit in 4 days and write a review. Say it, so
Yeah.
people do bail, like it's not for everyone. So then the people that do stick, obviously, we want to work with them and help them as best we can. So, like we have a Slack channel, we have ongoing conversations about things. One thing we do not want to do though is influence people's reviews, right? So, the only time I'll ever kick a review back to somebody is if what they write and the score they give don't match, right? Like somebody will be like, it was kind of fun for a while, but it had all these bugs and this shit went wrong and that shit went wrong and da 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 da. 9 out of 10. Right. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That was no
Hold
shot
this
to you.
back.
Joe.
Yeah.
That
No,
was-
it's
no.
good. I would have gave that
was-
an 11, y'all. I'm just letting you know. That was a good 11. Shit. Give me that
Yeah,
game right now.
No shot to Joe. But so then we'll be like, I think you need to reconsider this a little bit. Like you had all these problems. Think about your score a little bit and then get back to us. But that's a pretty rare situation, I was talking to a guy the other day. He's playing a game that's not out yet, and he was struggling a little bit because he was like, I love this game. It might be my favorite game that I've played so far this year, which I know it's only a month, but he plays a lot of games. But it's crashed on me 10 times. Like it's like stone cold crash 10 times that I've been playing it. I was like, dude, you gotta call that out, like you can't, as much as you love the game, you can't ignore that. So I guess that's kind of speaking to what you guys were saying earlier. Like when you spot stuff like that, then yes, you have to call that out. And take it into consideration for the score. Like, it's gonna hurt your feelings to give it a 6, but
Yeah.
goddamn, it crashed 10 times while you know, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I guess to
got
answer
one-
the overall question, there's like some coaching and counseling that goes on, but
Yeah.
we try to also let people be their own people. So
That's cool. I like you guys' process from what I'm hearing. I got one last question, I guess, I suppose. With so many like crazy good games coming out this year, like what are you guys most excited to possibly review? Like next week we got Hogwarts, I believe, on the 10th, and we got a few more excellent games coming up. After that, we got Atomic Heart, of course. We got so many games,
And we
so,
expect 11s, 12s even.
yeah.
Everybody's getting 13s
There you go.
for
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 13. Long live. Okay, just kidding. But Street Fighter 6.
Nice.
And
Forza.
oh yeah, Forza.
Starfield for sure.
Absolutely.
How are you going to finish that game before you review it?
Oh my
Crazy
God.
long game, mate.
Oh my
Stick to
God.
the main
I
story
don't-
path only.
One other thing about our site is we do give people the leeway. Like if it's something like that and they're not going to hit the embargo, it's like just take the time and finish the game. You know, we'll publish late because sometimes it is just too much, you know, and you just can't hit the embargo. Same thing with like games with a huge multiplayer component, like a Call of Duty. Like we're not going to publish that until it's live with real servers, you know, so people can get online and play the multiplayer. So for Starfield, like I think I'm going to be the Starfield victim. I'm
You
almost
mean the winner?
right.
So are you
I don't
telling
know.
us you're playing it
Man,
now? Because
here's
it'll probably take that
hoping.
long to get the review.
Right. It
Bro.
feels a little bit like self-torture sometimes. I'll tell you what. It's like you know those things back in the day with the priests that would hit themselves with a stick. That's what I feel like we do sometimes for our love of video games. Like
Oh, Monty
Yeah, I'm
Python.
thinking of
I love
Angels
video games.
Love the
and
reference.
freaking demons. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of now. Where that guy was whipping himself.
Yeah. Look, I do sort of want to. There's a couple of questions that I want to go through, sort of quick fire stuff, and then I will let you guys go because I am conscious of time. Don't want to keep Kay for like more than 4 or 5 hours. And I did say to you guys that I would keep you around about an hour, and we're sort of over that hour mark at the moment. But before I do hit the questions, you guys have been absolutely awesome. I appreciate your honesty. And definitely, I don't think that your integrity is in question. Look, one question is, and I did speak to you about it earlier in the show. What do you think about like when you see review sites, and this is sort of what was coming by way of Metro Co UK when they reviewed Hi-Fi Rush. So the two questions that I'd have for you is, one, why haven't you reviewed Hi-Fi Rush? And two, when you hear a review says, admittedly, Hi-Fi Rush has not been ignored, which is a good job because it's the best exclusive on Xbox Series X. Admittedly, that's not saying much, given this is also a first Xbox Series X exclusive to be published by Microsoft themselves. The wasteland that has been Xbox release schedules for the last few years limits the accolades we can give the game. What do you think of reviews like that? When you see people saying things like that, that's basically saying we can't give you a good review because your cadence sucks.
All right, I want to be
feel
real careful here because I don't want to speak to this guy specifically. I don't know this guy, whatever. I do feel like this individual really wanted the internet to come eat their face. Like, like I don't like all
And
I
to
can,
piggyback off of that, I feel like I'm in the clear now. So we're good.
all I can say when I look at that, it's like he had a typo. Like nobody would do that on purpose. Like
What was
he
on your
stringing
mind?
together two sentences and forgot to put a period in, or there was a cut and paste accident. I don't know, man. Like
That went through an editor, though, right? I mean, that's the thing. That went through two sets of eyes minimum. Like,
I'm honestly not familiar with that organization, so I don't want to speak to them too much, and I don't know what their history is and everything. But I do know that you will never see something like that in one of our reviews.
Fantastic.
Never.
Fantastic. And again,
Never.
so why haven't we seen a Hi-Fi Rush review? Will we see one?
Just no bandwidth, man. Yeah, like
I haven't finished it yet. I'm gonna finish it. I got you. I got you, bro.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Joe's gonna do it.
13.
Yeah, like so again, we only can do so many of the games we're offered, and we can also only do the games that were offered, right? And since that was a sneak release, We just didn't know that it was coming.
Well, that's a question as well. Like, so like if say a game's not offered to you on review code early, it does come out, you haven't had an opportunity to play it before embargo, all that sort of stuff. Will you then look at reviewing it, or are you allowed to? Is that something that you can do?
No, yeah, we do, and we have. Like, I've picked up games that I found on Game Pass that had been out for like 4 months before, and it's been like, this game is awesome. I'm writing a review for this shit.
Mhm.
I'm playing a Quest game right now that's like a year old, and I'm thinking of writing up a review for it just because
What's the
I'm
name of the
enjoying
game?
it. You know, Red Matter 2.
Oh, brother.
I don't know
Great
if you ever
game.
played.
Continue.
Yeah, Red Matter 1
yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
amazing, and I never got around to playing this, and I picked it up the other day, and I was like, oh, this
I
is
have
just,
beaten Red
just as
Matter
good as the
too. It
first one.
is indeed amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, real
But,
good.
Look, a couple more questions, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Now, quick fire questions to both of you. First one though is just to Eric. When requesting codes or just dealing with the two platform holders in general, and you don't have to answer this, but I thought I would ask it. Who's easy to deal with?
Neither, because we never deal with them directly.
So you just deal with a PR?
We deal with PR companies, and they change. So it's like we don't have a steady contact for either. They hire different PR companies depending on what the game is, basically.
Copy that. Right. So for the both of you, quick thoughts on ABK deal. What do you think of industry consolidation, or in this specific case? Because I will say to you, I'm generally against consolidation of the gaming industry. However, in this case, I think it's probably going to end up being a good thing for gamers, obviously for Xbox players, and for the people who work there, and I think for the gaming as a whole. That's my personal view on it in a bit of a synopsis. But what's your view on the ABK deal?
All right, I'm going to have to plead ignorance. I have literally been in bed for a week. So this is the most awake I've been in 7 days.
So it's the
Explain to me what you're talking about.
Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine. I don't give a shit. Fine. I have no stake in these giant companies. Like, I am not a shareholder in these giant companies. I don't give a shit what happens to Sony or Microsoft or the companies that they buy, or I'm about the games. I just want to play the games. So like
Same.
a lot of that business stuff that goes on, you know, like when they bought Bethesda, when Microsoft bought Bethesda, that was just like a lock that I was going to get an Xbox, right? Like that's the impact that it has on me. How can I play all the games, right? So, nah, I'm not even going to weigh in on it.
Copy that. Joe, you said you feel the same?
Yeah, I'm here for it. Buy it up. Do it.
Awesome.
Do it. Make people panic.
There's a lot of discourse.
The more shit they can put on Game Pass, the happier I am.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Facts.
Look, this is the last question for both of you, and again, you don't have to answer this one. It's been a bit of a bone of contention throughout both communities. Starfield predictions. When do you think we'll see this game? Now, listen, I'm going to say this live on air as well, and just real quickly, I've got April 12th down in my calendar because that is the day we celebrate man going into space, and we know what Todd Howard's like. And it is also Grilled Cheese Day in America, and he mentioned grilled cheese sandwiches would be very detailed in Starfield. That's my prediction.
Oh boy,
I love your logic, man. I'll go with you. I'll go.
The cheese sandwich one is always hilarious to hear.
That's brilliant.
Pretty good. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Like, I've given up trying to predict release dates because, you know, it's just constantly like, delay, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so
I lost a good chunk of money trying to predict games.
yeah, this fool,
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Stupid.
He bet me last year that it was going to come out in 2022. $50, right? And then I doubled down to try to let him out of it, and he doubled down on it.
Damn.
Gonna fucking do it. Nope, they didn't do it. So with that being said,
personally, but yeah,
I'm going. I think I want to see how Redfall does because everybody's already up in arms about that shit. I'm going November.
Oh
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
there's going to be lots of knees on the table.
Saying it. Some
Knees
people
on-
are saying in the
Yeah.
fall.
Nah.
I'm thinking November, man.
You see,
I'm thinking
you can't listen to anything Umbra or Pete says because they've got knees on the table, and if they lose this bet, I get to collect a couple of
there's-
sets of knees. So
There's a
I'm
bet?
gonna counter that. I want to
Yeah,
counter that by pointing
when-
out that his old knees are on the table too. So once we
Yeah.
win,
Anyway,
we'll be
whoa.
collecting them.
Yeah,
Why am I
whoever
will
says they
say-
agree with Riskit's date, they're just going to be wrong. I'll just say that.
why are
now
my
as well.
knees old now? What the hell? That was just a
Had
low
to add a little
key
spice
joke.
on
Oh,
there. A little
Lord.
spice on it.
I don't care when it comes out. I just want it to be
Good.
clean,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like,
Yeah, it's
like,
gotta
Be-
be.
Bethesda has that rep of
It
just
can't be
putting out
Bethesda. Is that what you're saying?
upside down dragons and crazy Fallout people.
That dragon
like
meant to fly upside down. Thank you.
right. And so, like, as long as it takes them to get it clean, they can take as long as they want. It can
I
be
feel you.
2024 for all I care, so long as they like put out something that is
Now,
you know.
I said the same thing you said. People were like, "Oh no, you got to get it out and you got to be expectant." Listen, get this game
Man.
out when it's ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the problem with Bethesda fans and Xbox fans is they got Stockholm syndrome. So if Xbox says something, it's like, we don't need to hold them to their word. You know, like they lie all the time. We're used to this. That's fine. Just give me a good game. That's where we're at.
Yeah, see, I'll take you
sad to
give me
see.
a great and serviceable working game over your word any day of the week.
Over
Agreed.
a great and serviceable
If they
game
tell
on
me,
time.
hey, we're
We're not doing it. No, we're not doing this again.
But I get it some month later and it's way better. I'll take that.
We
Any day of the week.
have definitely had this argument for around about 4 months now. Look, guys, you've been absolutely fantastic, and I have loved having you on. I really appreciate you guys coming on here. Not many journalists or what do you guys call gamers that are writers would come on and take these questions and sort of handle it the way you guys have. And I really appreciate it, man. And I do think there is a lot of bias out there in the industry, as we referenced with that article. And I honestly do believe, after going through your history, even before speaking to you guys, that you guys are genuine and you have a massive amount of integrity. And it's something that we need to see more of from the media because we do see a little bit of bias, be it either way.
Absolutely.
And
Play games, guys. Just enjoy games.
Absolutely.
Y'all ain't gotta be mad at everything.
He's not talking to you specifically. He's
Not
talking
you.
to the game world.
No,
in
no.
general.
Absolutely.
And I love
Absolutely.
look, I
Now,
love that you guys are
Riskit-
doing.
Hey,
doing
Riskit,
what
I
you're doing.
appreciate you having us for real, man. This is
Really,
cool.
this was a lot of fun. I had a really good time. Thanks so much for having us.
Awesome. Look,
Appreciate
guys,
you
just
fellas
let
for coming through.
the people know where they can find you because I have got you linked down the bottom. Joe, I will get you YouTube and I will link that down the bottom later on the show.
Please don't, because they'll come from. No, I'm just kidding.
So just let the people know where they can find you
It's fine.
and what's
Go
coming
to,
soon
his,
for
go to him
Gaming
on
Next.
Twitter and put 9.5.
Put 9.5s in the chat, and while you there, smash that like button, son.
Oh, nice, bro. Nice.
Yeah, so let people know where they can find you, where they can find Gaming Nexus, and what you guys are sort of looking forward to next, and we'll let you get out of here.
Cool. You can find us at gamingnexus.com. I'm on Twitter at Eric_Hauter. It's Hauter. I also co-host a podcast, Spielberg Chronologically. We're watching every single Steven Spielberg movie in order and talking about it. So you can find me there
Nice.
as well.
Very
Nice.
nice.
Joe?
Well, since you said that, what's your favorite Spielberg movie?
Oh man, like it has changed so much since I've done this. What did I have at the top right now? I got a list. I got a document. Hold up, it's just 2 seconds, and I'll tell you what's at the top right now.
AI, aren't you? I know what it is.
No, Schindler's
Indiana
List is
Jones,
number one right
considered-
now.
Is Indiana
Schindler's
Jones considered
List.
Spielberg? Oh,
Yeah,
other,
it-
if
it
not,
is
also other
Yeah.
other than that, I'll say Schindler's List. I did that for my VCE project. I got an A+ for it. I love that movie. Always have.
Nice.
Hey,
Yeah,
these
I'll tell you
guys
what,
are
it changes
outliers.
every
I,
week.
I expect them to say Ready Player One.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one too. No, but Schindler's List is actually that's worthy of that for sure.
I reckon I'd go with Ready Player One personally. Well, awesome.
you
Look,
go.
thank you guys. We'll let you get out of here and get on with the rest of your day as this 4-hour podcast turns into a 5-hour podcast, and we'll jump into the topics of the week. So before I do, please hit
Take
the
care,
like button. Please hit
Thank you,
the.
gentlemen. It was great having you guys here.
It's absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic.
Thank you.
Coming.
For real. You guys.
Thanks for the follow,
Thank
Joe.
you.
I just followed you
All of
straight
you.
back, mate.
I'm
I am going to
following
put
everybody on
9.5
the
in there as
stage.
well.
You
mate.
guys
Yeah.
are super cool. I'm gonna give
Aw,
all
we're
your
best
streams.
friends.
I'm gonna give you all your streams and all your Instagram accounts 9.5s. Umbra, because it's your birthday, I'm giving you a 10. You know, I'm here. I'm here for the love, bro.
That's
I'm here
it.
for the love.
That's it. Hey,
all right, y'all. Have a good show. Have a good
guys
show.
as well. I'll talk to you guys hopefully soon.
All right,
all right, take care.
Catch you, fellas. All right, cool. Moving on into the rest of the show and the topics of the week, of which we have many. Please hit the like button and subscribe button if you're just joining us. That was Gaming Nexus. We were just talking about their review of Forspoken. Very interesting, and it is sort of great to see that there are some media out there that are genuine and do hold some integrity, as well as Cutie's site, obviously. So the first topic of the week, Jesus, is that what we're just getting into the first one? I'm going to skip that one because you know what?
I think we're going to have to cut some, brother.
We ain't got the time. Look, I did want to talk about this, and I definitely wanted to get Kay's sort of opinion on this and how he thinks this is going to fall. And I know that we've talked about the FTC to the death, but another case fell apart for the FTC. This makes 12, I believe, cases that the FTC has taken to the US District Court and have had them fall apart basically before they even get going. So if you didn't know, the FTC had sued to stop Meta from purchasing up a small virtual reality startup company. They make a virtual reality fitness game. Their argument was based upon an emerging market that doesn't really have a foothold or really exist at the moment. And they were talking in future terms. And when I'm saying future terms, I'm talking 10-year future terms, which in tech is something that's really hard to do and prove. Almost impossible, and clearly impossible because 12. So Kay, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you think this affects the ABK deal. I see it as another signal that Xbox knows they've got this in the bag, and they're just happy to make this sort of move along as smoothly as possible by offering whatever concessions and just getting it done. As I think they're as sick of it as we are.
So let me first and foremost start this by counteracting the prevailing narrative, right? I will not be the one to be here and say Lena Khan is ridiculous and she's ridiculous, malicious and all of this. There's a reason why big tech gets a bad rap, right? They've earned it, right? They've definitely earned it in many respects, and left unchecked, it becomes a problem, right? The problem here was the tools that they used to try and accomplish the task at hand. They didn't have a good hand. And when you're playing poker and you don't have a good hand, you have to be strategic. And the tools that they used, unfortunately, wasn't advantageous for them. And every time they're tested, this happens. So was I surprised this would happen? Of course not. Because yes, Facebook is bad, but this case was theirs to win. So even though you come to it, with all the right intentions, because you're right? If unchecked, certain entities can become overbearing, and they can go too far, and we know what, because we're talking about Meta / Facebook, right? But this case had the law on their side, and as such, they started slow walking, as they are doing here in ABK as well. And clearly, if there's any hope, right? We like me personally for the ABK thing, consolidation, is another conversation we can have. I would argue that consolidation has been part of the gaming space for a long time. Look at ABK themselves. They are an amalgamation from the 90s of many different companies. That just happens, right? It's cyclical, right? So, to me, that's not necessarily the problem here. It's just they go too far sometimes and need to be reined in, and I completely understand that. So with that backdrop, they felt the need to impose their will here, but they really they cannot follow where the law leads, because the law is on the side of the purchasers, right? And the purchasees. It just is, right? So you can't say big tech bad and then make it up in the middle. And clearly, thank goodness, there is still some side in the American system that will err on the side of existing law, right? Those of us that pay pretty close attention to all of this sit there and go, oh man, we hope the EU and the CMA can really err on that side, because America's kind of lost when it comes to that, because they're in political mishigas as it were right now. Nobody can even believe anything anybody says, because it's just ridiculous, a lot of the stuff that's happening, right? But at the end of the day, they took it to a federal court, and the federal courts, as they do, still stuck with hey, this is the precedent of the land. If there is no monopolistic tendencies, if it doesn't hit that threshold, then get out of here with all of that, right? And that's what's happening here. And we knew that that's what would happen. What happened, right? And I actually even think that the FTC knew that's what would happen, right? And if you look at the ABK deal, that's the reason why they went to appellate court instead of going to federal court, because they knew that's what would happen there as well. So, you know, how this works in ABK, I don't necessarily think that this hurts or helps ABK. It probably more hurts the FTC as an entity themselves, because everybody kind of thinks they have egg on their face, and now that more and more there is little egg coming to be put on their face by either their own judges or federal judges just saying, go back and do your jobs. You know what I'm saying? So as far as what ABK ultimately will be, if you really pay attention, and none of this is secret, it's all out there. People, it's just some of the legalese becomes a little difficult to decipher, but they've already ceded ground. They've already gave all concessions. Now it's just a matter of process, right? There was conversation about, well, we just want to make this done already, right? And the regulatory body said, no, we have to first lodge the complaint before you can give us your solution. So what did we see today? The complaint has been lodged. Right. And in the next day or two, you're going to see the potential. And I think even a spokesperson for Microsoft has already come out and said, we'll work with them to give them whatever they need to solve the problem. They're just going through the process at this point. There will be concessions all over the place. You know, there's as you guys know, I podcast with the with the conspiracy theorist in chief himself. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories in the middle of where this will end. But ultimately, this is it's done. Like, the process is done. Now the question is, when will we see it come to fruition? That is where I'm more focused right now. Wake me up when they finally like sign the deal and it's over, because that's when it all actually begins, not ends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Oop, did I
definitely.
lose you
I don't
guys?
know why I
Yeah.
got so
There you
silent
go.
after that. Why did you get
Yeah. So yeah,
I don't
I
think
think
we've gone a week.
it's not a big deal.
I think we've gone a week in the last 3 months without talking about this, but I get your point, and I do agree with
Yeah.
it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing on this, I think you covered it all, okay? It's like you said, it's more on the buyer side than anything else with this. We've exhausted, I think, these talking points of this all over, honestly. So it does get tiresome to talk about. But the thing is, it's like it's so many moving parts still. Even today, some more we heard about. I believe it was Sony.
Well, the big thing
requested
is the
more
meta
time
thing.
or something like that. So
Yeah,
that's
they've
true.
been asked for
And-
they've been subpoenaed to provide documents, to provide details. We don't know what those details are. Rumor has it, hey, money hats, show us the numbers, and they keep delaying. Oh, we'll give it to you next week. Oh, we'll give it to you next week.
Not sure if you can
and
turn
we
up your mic,
suspect-
Umbra.
so far.
You're a little bit
But
low,
not a-
brother. I think you Danny said you're a little bit low, bro. So I don't know if you can
Oh
turn
yeah,
up
you
your
might
mic,
want to
Umbra.
turn yours up just a bit. Yeah.
Let's see. How about now?
Absolutely.
I
I
being
did
real
actually.
slanderous in your chat, man.
I actually did have Umbra turned down. So I will turn him back up. No,
I just saw it.
Only kidding. Look, I didn't
just
want to.
recently the meta deal got overturned as well, and that's I think Riskit. We were talking about this on the other day, mate.
That's literally
and
the
that's
topic
a really good
that we're.
sign for the ABK
That's
deal.
literally
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
topic that we're talking about now. Pete was look. I didn't want to talk about this too long because I mean, as you guys have pointed out, yeah, we've covered it to death. But it does sort of go to the ABK deal, you know, in a positive way. And I think we've all said many, many times we think this will go through. It's just a matter of timing. And in the end, you know, PlayStation's just playing that delay game. You know, obviously with one of their games as well that's now been delayed on PC, but as well with the ABK deal, and that just buys them time. And the more time that they get, the more they win, the closer that they get to releasing what we know is they're going to be their live service games, which they're very likely, and I think they've sort of hinted at them bringing to their service PS Plus, which is, you know, obviously eventually going to have to compete. And that's all that's sort of happening here.
Jason Max in the chat just added a very interesting comment. We did read that they asked for the subpoena for details. He says that, and I hadn't seen that, so thank you for the details. they asked for exactly what we're talking about: money hats, the deals from the last 11 years, and so on. Right.
Mhm.
So now Sony is being asked to provide those details because I suspect Microsoft thinks they can use that against them. So will be interesting. If nothing
Well,
else, this will be
actually,
really good for the team now.
Mhm.
Yes.
that was actually speculation at one point. We were talking about it on Boom's podcast, wondering if
Yep.
that was going to be the
Yep.
case.
Now it's
So just
fact. Now it's
crazy.
coming out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So look,
Well, sounds
again,
good.
as I sort of said, I don't want to stick on this for too long because it has been talked about, covered in the community to death. So, but if we get some of those details about the money hats, that's just going to be it's going to be a great thing to sort of see what Sony has been doing, because they do act. Look, people just call me an Xbot, but I believe in the last generation and this generation they have been acting in bad faith in a lot of ways, and if they can just get that tidied up, I think that's where the FTC needs to step in and sort of put some regulations around how not just Sony but Xbox and Embracer and all these companies do business. But look, guys, I haven't got to the super chats, and there's quite a few have rolled in, and then we'll move to the next topic because this show is probably going to blow out to about 3 hours. And as much as I love it, 3 hours, my butt will be sore from sitting on this seat. I didn't get a new seat, by the way. So Shooter with the $10 super chat says, he says, what a week coming. Hogwarts pre-installed, ready to play Tuesday. Grey Monad's 50th on Wednesday. And it's also Umbra's 50th today. And a pacemaker for yours truly on Wednesday. I didn't even get a fight back for that. No bite.
Just to clarify, I'm not in my 50s.
Drawn TJ.
A nasty rumor was started by Mark. I saw you earlier say that. Just want to point that out.
Drawn TJ with the $5 super chat says, Forspoken looks like garbage and the dialogue is terrible. I wouldn't play that unless it was in Game Pass, but even then, yeah, Drawn TJ, me personally, I wouldn't even play it in Game Pass, to be honest. I respect Joe's subjective opinion, but I categorically disagree with it. And it was great to have those guys on. And I do believe I already knew that he was a genuine reviewer after going through all of his reviews before he even came on the show.
Yeah, he was pretty solid. I like those guys. They're pretty nice.
Yeah, me too, man.
Absolutely.
They all followed us as well. He actually replied to my 9.5 and he said he gives us a 9.6.
Mark from Legendary Drops with the $5 super chat said, reviews are subjective, plain and simple. Love RPGs. Riskit likes Peppa Pig. Each to their own. I've never played Peppa Pig. I don't know where this came from. I was watching one of the shows. No, it's RDX. They said I never played Peppa Pig.
Hey, stop the Peppa Pig slander. I have played Peppa Pig. I have kids. Peppa Pig is on in my house on a daily. Stop the Peppa Pig slander. Stop it.
Yeah, well, I never play. I mean, I don't even know if it's good or bad, man. I think it was Fonz. Fonzarelli was saying I've never played Peppa Pig. I don't know where the hell he's getting that.
I think it was Panda, bro. I think it was Red Dead Panda. You know, that's typical of her.
Fucking Panda. Well, she doesn't even game, so you can't listen to her. Sean TJ with another $10 super chat. You guys are amazing, by the way. Thank you. The chat I have been watching, but there's a lot of moving parts going on in the background here, so I haven't actually been able to be in the chat as much as I would like. Hopefully things are settling down, and I will be. People that do reviews need to state whether they're using opinion or using facts. Facts are facts. Opinions. Don't blow the line. The game is a 6 at best, especially for $70. Well, that's a bone of contention, and I don't know how I feel about using the price of a game as part of the review. And Cutie, I'm going to jump to you if you're back with us. She had to step out for a minute, but I mean, if a game's in Game Pass, it definitely does put it in more of a positive light, so I can understand that. But Cutie, are you back with us? No, she's not. Yeah, well, look, I'm here. I'm here. Hello, Becca. Look,
no, that first time you did it was better. This time you could tell it was you there, Umbra.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a weird.
You know she has a voice for me too, right? You know that, right? She's been working on it.
I've heard her voice for you. I have.
It's a bit of a weird one. I think what reviewers and review sites could do is put down, or give some sort of a framework of how they've done their review. I think that would go a long way to, You know
what, Riskit? The point you were making about all that, kind of like what we were talking about when the gentlemen were here. Even if you don't call it out, like whether the graphics are good or whether the money, whether it costs more or it costs less, I think it. Even if you're not a technical reviewer or that's not your forte, I do think it only matters if it's detrimental, meaning, hey, this game is amazing, but it's literally 5 minutes and you paid $70 for it, then I suggest you call it out, right? Hey, these graphics are great or they're bad, and they're to the point where they're detrimental to your experience, then it bears calling out. But besides that, I think you're absolutely right that, it should not be a critical factor in every review unless it's an outlier in some way,
Yeah, unless it is a critical factor. And I think there's a time at which you know that it is. But I mean, it's obviously a factor, but it doesn't need to be the defining factor.
Sure. Exactly. Like a quick example, Hi-Fi Rush game is $30. If somebody reviews that game and goes, wow, this thing is amazing and it was only $30, I understand, because you're getting so much content for that seemingly low price in our $70 world. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't necessarily mean that is the basis of your review. If it's either unusually good or unusually bad, it's worth repeating. It bears mentioning,
Absolutely. I'd agree. 110% agree with that. Mr. Bushido with a fantastic point. Mr. Bushido always makes fantastic points. With the $2 super chat, he said,
please don't lie to him. Please don't tell him that.
Can you trade Umbra for K Asante, please? Yeah, look, we're working on it.
This is one of those rare times. I think I should address this since it, involved me.
Oh boy.
Here we go. This is one of those rare times where you have such two quality individuals, such as myself and Kay, that we're interchangeable enough that you're going to get high quality regardless. But Kay has so much going on for himself that he wouldn't, try to diminish me as a brother by
I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. I don't train my pipes like he trains his. I wouldn't be able to sing as long as he does. Forget about
it. See what I mean? Now you would fit in because Riskit doesn't like joy when singing, so he would.
Oh boy,
not a big fan of joy.
But still.
Oh, fantastic!
It's not. You see how it's Black History Month, and here we go with Mr. Bushido trying to tear black men apart. Do you see this?
Well,
turn us against each other.
Shout out to Black History Month as well. And I will also say it's not really joy that's the problem; it's other people's joy. Okay, so Mr. Randy G with the $5 super chat. What would happen if the regulators say there can be no more exclusives between consoles because it hurts consumers? That would that's a very interesting question, Randy. And that probably is very unlikely to happen because what you want is competition. And if you were to remove exclusives from the consoles, what you're doing is removing a form of competition. That is how these console a way that these console makers and platform holders compete. So that's extremely unlikely to happen, and any kind of competition.
And I don't think the regulators have the capability to do that. Like they don't have the right to tell you. Well, they may have the right to speak to you about the things specifically at hand that you're discussing, but they can't go, okay, from now on, all your games are cross-platform because we think that's good for consumers. That is beyond their capabilities.
Yeah, it's definitely outside their scope. And again, as much as I don't think exclusives, and I think you'd be crazy to think as a consumer that exclusives are good for us, they are good for the platform and do keep the platform healthy. And it's probably something that Xbox should learn to do. Moving on.
Riskit, I will push back just a teeny tiny bit on the exclusive not being good for us. I'm sure you hated did you hate The Last of Us 2?
No.
Did you did you play it? What did you think of it?
What did I sort of, there's story beats that don't make sense within the framework of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessary to go the route they did. Killing Joel was absolutely fine in my opinion.
Well,
that was something.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is the point I'm making specifically with that point is like whether you like it or you hate it, it by and large is considered one of the best looking, one of the best like performing video games ever made by the thing they were able to accomplish on that hardware that they did was astronomical, and that could only happen because it was exclusively powering that hardware. Right? They could not do that and spread it multi-plat. So I do think in certain instances, exclusively to that platform really does benefit the gamer as well.
That's what we need from Xbox. That's what we need from Starfield. I think Hivebusters was the best showcase of it so far that I've come across. So I agree with that point. But I just want to say that Umbra posted something in the topics that I have to mention. The Last Case of Benedict Fox, developer gameplay premieres 6th of February, 9 a.m. Cannot wait for that. Really want to see more about that game.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Top three of my top three on my list on the showcase last year.
Oh shit, it's coming April 27th.
Cannot wait.
Oh wow, they're giving us release date. Yes. Sorry. That's one. That was almost top of my list. So I don't know if you guys remember that in the showcase. I sort of was almost out of my chair with that shit. So I am.
I had top three for me was that Flintlock, and of course Redfall.
Isn't that the same day as Star Wars Jedi Survivor?
No,
it is, isn't it?
Jedi Survivor is April
28th.
28th, I think. Yeah.
Yep. It's literally like going to be the same day or a day after. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll be playing my way through that before I buy Jedi Survivor because that honestly that was up there to me. I know what I'm getting with Jedi Survivor. I don't know what I'm getting with Benedict Arnold's cucumber cumberbatch avocado. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Last Case of Benjamin Button.
Let me.
That's gonna be a tough one.
So, Randy, that was a great question, and Kay, I just want to say that is a great point. That is a way in which it does benefit the consumer. So you're absolutely right. They can really focus on the hardware. However, that doesn't really sort of work going into this new generation because you do have to, and they are porting to PC. So with Xbox, it's a slightly different thing. And when you're working with an APU as opposed to GPU, CPU, it is a different thing. So it'll be interesting to see how Xbox handles that going forward. And I think we'll see that with Forza. I think we'll see the possibilities. And what I think we'll see,
Forza will be very interesting to see. Absolutely.
And I think we'll see like longer development cycles. And I think that's what it will mean in the long run. But yeah, it's an interesting question. Great question, Randy G. Thank you very much. Mark from Legendary Drops with the $5 super chat. He says, I've got 12 pounds of dangling fury. I should replace Umbra. I don't know what that means.
You need 13.
I feel like a pause should be there somewhere. Like, man, okay.
You need 13. Pause.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let's move on. So, guys,
this
if you
Black History Month, Mark, you can't just insert me with 12.
Wow. Look, we'll move on to the next topic. If you guys are loving the show and you love 12 Pounds of Fury, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new here. Look, here's something that's really disappointing for me. I haven't booked my tickets yet, but I am going. I'm a little bit worried about being shot, to be honest. But E3,
you're in LA, not
it's not because of LA. I think there's going to be some PlayStation guys there that are going to be looking out for Riskit. I'm going to be wearing a vest. Look, Xbox seems to be skipping E3, and we've got Summer Games Fest sort of coming back, and I consider these sort of intertwined. So the report came out that Xbox's current plans for the showcase remain unconfirmed, but in previous years, it has held a showcase, preview events, and press mixes. Internally, Xbox has recently suffered layoffs, and other cuts. Xbox's decision not to have a formal presence on E3's show floor comes as a surprise, given its support for the event in the past. Also, it's Phil Spencer, if you don't know, he sits on that board also. So it's a very interesting choice that they wouldn't turn up. I think I've heard it mentioned as it's a bit of I believe on Mr. Bushido's show with KY Bob, they were saying it's a bit of a dick swinging competition. And I do see it as that. And I don't see any problem with getting out there on stage and swinging your 12 pounds of fury around to show like what's coming in the next year, like why you should be purchasing our platform, why you should be a member of, Game Pass. I don't see a problem with that. It's disappointing to me on a personal level. And so my opinions will be colored by this because this, I believed, was the last E3. I didn't think it would happen this year. And I'm definitely, punty in the chat. The foreskins jokes and innuendos are plentiful today. Be careful because someone's show got demonetized on show because of those jokes. It's disappointing to me. I wanted to see an E3 in its full spectacle. That included with PlayStation. I knew I wasn't going to getting that. And if this is true, I'm a little bit disappointed. However, I'll preface this with they did announce way back in the year, and it seems everyone's forgotten. They said they would be having a showcase on June 11th. Right. And then E3 would begin. So I think they sort of hinted at this, that they wouldn't be directly involved in E3, but sit on the outliers of E3 earlier in the year. And it seems like that this sort of confirms it.
Yeah, look, Still think it's disappointing, but mate, E3 was meant to be coming back this year. After all the COVID things, I thought the E3 was coming back, and I get they're still having an event, but I don't think anything's quite like E3 where everybody's all together in the one place. You get to meet the developers, you get to play the games, you get to talk to people, you get to interact with the cosplayers. They have different panels, everyone all together, whether it's Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft, when Sony was there. And I think E3 is going to be sadly missed within the community. And I do think this is going to be the final nail in the coffin. Xbox were the ones that were pushing E3. And I think without them there, it's just going to die. If it hasn't died already.
I
Yeah,
think
unfortunately. Go ahead, Cutie.
sorry. Unfortunately, because of COVID, a lot of companies have adopted quite strict policies that are continuing into this year. And that does mean that Xbox can't be at an event that is this large with this many people in that size of a space. So yeah,
I don't know if that matters nowadays.
So
It's just
No,
out of interest
I-
before we go to you, Umbra. Just out of interest, Cutie, is there something that you've sort of picked up on the wayside that 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 this is sort of the reason for?
Oh, I can get the link for you. I thought you guys knew.
No. What was
Is that like for Australia? Because I don't know if that's the case over here. I don't
Maybe
think that's
not.
the case. Because
Maybe
yeah,
not. Let me
'Cause, I mean they have
let me
plenty of
see.
people gathering for stadiums.
Can I throw a
and
nugget
such,
of
but-
details into here? There's something that folks might not have caught as well. This might not be that big of a deal because even Phil Spencer himself said this. And since the interview came out, more details came out about it. Yes, it's true they won't be at E3 proper like they really haven't been. Yeah, sometimes they put some stuff on the show floor or they're adjacent, and then with one ticket you can get into both. But the same organization that's putting on E3 2023, ReedPop, is also putting on Microsoft show at the same time during E3. Right?
Well,
just
not
like every year.
Same time is the little off-putting.
Oh, yeah,
Microsoft's going to be a week before E3.
Yes, exactly. They're going to be a week before, which is exactly how it was last year and the year before. Like this is no different. The only difference here is when E3 proper opens up for normal consumers, they go and they put some of their stuff on the show floor there as well, so you can go wait in line there. This year they're just not doing that. Right? It's not that different than last year. It's basically the same thing.
Slightly different though, right? Because apparently you don't get if you buy. It used to be where you bought 3 E3.
You buy
tickets,
one, you get into both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's not the case anymore. So they're not associated.
Well, is that
directly in
confirmed?
way. Well, I
Is
know
that fully confirmed?
Not officially, but I did see Jeff Grubbs comment and say that was the case.
And he said that was okay.
Because
they did say, well,
to be safe to say, just to say he did delete that tweet, but he did originally come out and say that was the case.
Because the idea was they were like, oh, we're working with ReedPop and you'll get more information later. So I thought that there is still potential for that same kind of, because we haven't heard any news about Microsoft leaving the ESA board, right? They're still on the ESA board, so it's still in their best interest that E3 is successful, right?
Exactly.
So since they spoke that, hey, although we won't be there in official capacity, we're still working with the team that's literally putting on E3 as well. I thought there's still some synergy there that's yet to be necessarily mentioned, right?
Yeah,
and I will definitely be in the spot. We've already reserved our place. We're just booking tickets soon. So
you already
we're keeping. Oh yeah. We got hotels booked the whole nine. We out there. So we keeping close eye.
So you got a
on
hotel? I was thinking of maybe doing Airbnb.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. To be specific, myself and Mr. Boomstick have gone in on an Airbnb. So,
oh, nice. You hold on. You all excluded the brother. What's going on here?
No. And so that y'all aware, for the community out there, whoever happens to listen to this now or later, we have a big group, right? The problem is to get as close to the arena as you possibly want to. You can't get a space with multiple people, so there are a lot of 2 people spots, very, very close.
Wow.
So we have a long list that's built up. Umbra, if you're interested, if you're serious, I know there are a couple other community members that are serious about it. I send them the list with all of the potentials, and they've been reserving. So
okay,
we're all in the
definitely,
relatively close area.
Definitely send that list along to me.
Oh yeah, we'll do Riskit for sure.
Can you please include in that list any army surplus stores where I could pick up?
Yeah, you're going to
vest?
need a vest, Riskit. Let's just be
You're gonna
honest,
need a
mate.
vest.
You're
Yeah.
going to need one, brother.
Front
I just
Kevlar.
want to reiterate what Phil Spencer said. He said E3 is to me one of the seminal moments of gaming. I love the history of going down to LA, thousands of people there, getting to see great new things, getting to see people in the industry, the fan events that we had. I definitely want that to continue.
Yeah, so it's an
And
interesting.
those fan events will be with Reed Pop, same E3 people who are putting on E3. So there you go.
So it's an interesting that he's he answered the question in such a way as to sort of be in line with E3. So I don't think this is sort of the. I kind of agree with you, Kay. It's a disappointing to know that to think that they may not have a booth within E3. But we don't know. We don't know anything for sure yet. I'm still heading along.
It's kind of like them sitting. It's kind of like them sitting at the Keeleys and not necessarily dropping anything, but then a week later they do their own thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean they hate where they are. Maybe they're trying to do their own thing right now, right? Because they have kind of struck out on their own a bit. I didn't see this as horrible news as the end of it all, as some people might suggest, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll be very sad.
Say what he wants. If Microsoft says it's not feasible, it's not happening. Phil Spencer is Xbox.
He is Microsoft.
It's as simple as
he
that.
He has a CEO role. Nobody tells him what to do. I'm sorry.
Exactly. He decides whether or not they go to E3 or not. Nobody else.
And that's, probably the only person who could step in there is Satya, but I think they're very much work in line.
Possibly, yeah.
We do need to move on to the next topic as we sort of move through topics. We've got quite a few. There was a lot that happened this week, and even more than we are going to be able to cover. Thimba asked a question, though. He said, would you guys like to Xbox to ditch their own stage and event and go for E3 stage, like in the way we don't want E3 to die and still be there? Yeah, look, it depends on how this sort of falls. This doesn't have to be a bad thing, so we'll see how it falls. I would like them to have a booth. I would definitely like to be able to meet Phil, like shake hands with Aaron Greenberg, who is a lovely guy in the background. And say hi to Sarah Bond. Like, I would love to do that. I'm a fan of Xbox, and being a fan, obviously, I want to meet the guys who make this happen for us. So, if that doesn't happen, I'll be a little bit disappointed. But we don't know yet. So we'll wait and see how this falls. I am going to move on, unless Cutie, you want to add any more. But I think we've sort of covered it. And I'm sort of flicking through topics here up and down because we've got to.
I'm just saying, I'm actually a little bit devastated that I can't
be
go.
there. Yeah. I'm pulling out all I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm going to be there.
I'm trying my best to make it. I don't know if I will, but my intention is to do so.
Come on, guys, y'all can make it. Let's go. I can't wait to see some of y'all. Come on.
I know.
I'm going to be alone.
I don't know.
Representing Xbox.
My job,
Voice of Australia.
There's really not much room for additional income, and I just
it's
unless something drastic happens.
Where you guys are. How many hours?
For us
17 hours flight?
19 hours.
19.
Yeah. And look, I was listening
to the fourth longest flight in all of the world.
Yeah, and I was listening to MacBound the other day, and the guys on over on KY Bob's Game Set Live, and they were talking about outlaying $1,000, and I was like, man, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know. 1,000, really?
I'm outlaying a minimum of $5,000 here. Five to possibly $8,000 to get over there.
You might be able to eat Megarang noodles the whole time.
Yeah, if you do that, you might get it down to 4.
I talked to Lemon. I talked to 108. I told him, hey, you and 100, you all cook some barbecue for us again, like they said they do. So
good.
I'm not eating noodles. I'm eating some barbecue.
F
all of that. I hope to go though. I really do hope to go because I do want to meet everybody.
Yeah, and guys in the chat, if you guys are heading in at E3, hit us up on Twitter. I won't respond for the next 10 hours until my account's unlocked again. But hit us up on Twitter. Let us know you're going because I'd like to touch base with a lot of the community members and just say hi, man. That would be really cool. Yeah,
just saying.
Well, I think there's probably a few that would want to punch me. But good luck. I'm 6'1" and
broke his beard. He likes it.
Give it a good go. I love that. Anyway, moving on.
The beard will take all of the impact.
I do want to talk about something to do with PlayStation. I kind of want to fold it into something else as well. Now PlayStation has removed or are removing their PS Plus collection from that low tier. Now, look, a lot of the guys are saying, all you have to do is download this and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, cool, I get it. I see it as removing value, though, from that lower tier. And I don't like it.
100%.
Yeah, it's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Right,
remove
it's not
it.
even that good value anyway, so, you know, them.
No,
I
that's it.
mean, come on now. If you're a new PlayStation gamer, that is a lot of really bangers for you, right? Like,
Exactly, Kay. And that's who it's
yeah,
targeted
people
at
really
as
enjoyed
well.
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're right.
It's
Okay.
targeted at new gamers. I get that most PlayStation 4 games would have played these games. These are some of the games of the generation, last generation. But this is an incentive to get new players in. And let's face it, it's been pretty difficult, even still, to get a PlayStation 5. And it is removing value. It really, really is. So I think it's going away sometime in May, early May. If you are subscribed to it or you subscribe to it prior to that and continue subscription, you will continue to get these games. But
Well, you
if
have to
your
redeem them first,
subscription,
though. Every single one.
yeah. And I think then if your subscription drops off, you can't play them anymore. I'm
Yeah,
not
then you're gone.
100
Then it's done.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's kind of
I
like
just
they're
think,
grandfathering you in if you happen to have been there when it was there. But if you are not, from then on. So I guess the question I ask, and I don't know, maybe they've mentioned this and I didn't catch it. If they're removing it, right? What is the incentive of that lower tier then? What else do they give you to make you at that lower PlayStation Plus Essentials tier? Now that the collection's gone.
Well, that's
What
sort of
else
my
is-
point.
none.
Yeah, that's sort of my point. The only incentive there is to be able to play online, which is not really a necessity if you're a PlayStation gamer. Hey, no, but, but look, that's the only incentive that you have. So the value of that tier is now gone. And so what is the point?
I see Dave in the
tier?
chat saying cloud saves. Okay, cloud saves as well.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, Dave, that is not a fucking. That is not. Look,
Yeah. That's like saying I'm buying you a TV and your incentive and your benefit is your remote control. Come on.
Okay, so it says
Yeah.
access to online multiplayer, hand-picked games each month at no extra cost, discounts on the store, add-on content, 100 gigabytes cloud storage, share play, game help, and the
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus.
So it's exactly
collection.
what it was before they called it Plus. Now.
Yeah.
exactly. And let's face it, cloud save should be free.
And game
They
help
should.
you can
Yeah,
get
they
on
should
YouTube.
be.
Game help
agree.
you can get on YouTube. And the other thing is that the only benefit, and I will give them the props absolutely due, is that they do bring in pretty decent games on a monthly basis. So you still will have access to those.
That
Sorry,
much
Umbra.
I'll give them.
Okay.
Other than that much, I'll give them. Other than that, I stand by what I said way back when we talked about this. It offers nothing for me or anybody who just uses PlayStation for their first party games and maybe third party exclusives. Because I have all those, I bought them, so I don't need anything else they offer really.
Yeah.
Umbra, to your point, during American Black Friday, they gave me a deal I couldn't refuse. So I had a PlayStation Plus, subscription till I think 2024, and for $40, they then upgraded it to PlayStation Plus Premium. So now I have the entire thing till 2024. Ask me if I've played
That's a good
anything.
deal.
Ask me if I've played anything. No, it's just so strange. I have not played anything, and there's so many games there. But I go there, and I'm like, I've played all the first party PlayStation games, and all the third party that are here, I have an Xbox. So why am I here? It's just difficult.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we prefer the Xbox ecosystem, and once you get accustomed to it, on either side, it's kind of hard to switch and be like, oh, I'm just gonna play all these over here. It's tough, and I only use them really for the first party. And I think the multiplayer aspect of Xbox kind of draws you more towards Xbox anyway when it comes to things like that. And you just kind of look at Sony as a single player first party machine. That's kind of how I see it.
That's right. See, my son won't even add me as a friend because he's like, I don't go to there to be friends with people. I go there to play single player games. So I'm like, all right, mate, no worries.
Yeah, you know what? Riskit and I were in a party once on PlayStation. It felt weird.
Yeah.
It was so strange.
And it didn't sound good. The party system is actually really bad. Like the sound quality is horrific.
Yeah. A lot of
didn't
people
they
don't
recently
realize
enable
that
Discord?
as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Discord? No, they don't have
They
integration.
No.
They recently did.
Yeah, they just did it. I think yesterday or
Yeah.
today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think yesterday or today they recently did it. But of course, unlike Xbox, you still need your phone.
Yeah, Mark at the Legendary Drop says he says all consoles are Discord is way better. Yeah, we know you PC Master Race, but Final Fantasy sucks and Diablo 4 is going to bomb.
Yeah,
Right,
but
so-
in saying that, you can talk in parties on your computer, so you can use your computer mic if you want to.
Exactly.
True.
And I think that's
True.
more to the point. I think a lot of the headsets that people have poor thing. And when, Xbox does have that Windows 11 noise cancellation, which is out of control, ridiculously good. We put it through its
Pretty
paces,
solid.
man, and it is like really, really fucking good. It's like unbelievable what it will can't.
Bobby
Like-
Hawk said that Xbox Party sucks. No, sir.
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. But Bobby is a dyed-in-the-wool pony, and so we don't
I
listen
know
to
Bobby's a
anything.
good bloke. He's been writing some cool stuff. I want to bring him over to the Xbox side. He needs to come over, mate.
No, we
He's
don't
not
want
coming. He
horse
doesn't
hair
want
on our
it.
carpet, dude. What are you talking about?
Jeez.
You take your damn hooves and you get out of here, sir. Nah, it's all love, Bobby.
Listen, there is one thing that I want to talk about in regards to PlayStation as well. It wasn't in the topics, but I just want to talk about it. God, I don't want to get into an argument about this, but I feel that I'm going to. The Last of Us. I waited to speak about this. Everyone was talking about it first week. I kind of backed off. Has everyone seen it?
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched it last night. Once I
Oh,
started,
you finally watched it, huh?
Once I started it, I couldn't stop it. It's amazing.
It's an
It's damn
apps.
good.
Honestly, I will say this, and then I'll move to the panel and just get some quick fire thoughts on it, and then we'll move to the next topic. But it is an absolutely faithful, almost faithful, and where it's not faithful, it is amazing. The writing, the filmography, the cinematography, absolutely everything about this show is just absolutely AAA, quadruple A, like bang on. They have nailed this.
Who would argue
They've-
with you on that
They've
point?
captured the feeling. Umbra will. They've captured the
No, I'm
feeling.
with you on No,
That-
I'm with you on that.
they've
We
cap-
had a disagreement as far as was it
Whoever-
filler?
Episode
That's all.
3 was not filler. It just was not filler.
Right,
See,
It
I'll-
was
just,
not
let's
filler.
now, just before we move on, I just want to say,
I'll let Riskit finish this
But
point, and I'll get
just
why
before we
it
do
was.
move to Umbra, I just want to say that we will not say any spoilers. So guys, just be careful about what you say, please, because there are people in the chat whom haven't watched it and want to wait until all the episodes are out.
Beauty says she just watches it for Daddy Pedro. I don't know.
I didn't know Anna
Pedro
Torv was
Pascal
in
can
it.
get it. Like,
Yeah, I didn't know Anna Torv was in it. Fuck,
Well,
Anna
all
Torv's
right.
gorgeous
Yeah.
as well.
So the acting is absolutely sensational. There's an Aussie actor who plays God, I can't remember her name. She was amazing. Even all the side characters.
Yes.
I can't wait for
You mean Tess?
Harry. Is it
Yes,
Harry?
yeah.
Harry and his
Yeah.
brother. I cannot wait for those scenes and how they'll play out.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be. It's just an absolutely amazing show. Xbox should honestly take a leaf out of this book. Stick to the damn
agree.
source material. Respect it, and you will bring in a new audience. Because the reason you had the audience in the first place was because what you had was good. You wouldn't have it otherwise.
Look at the difference. Look at the stark comparison between the Halo TV show and the Last of Us TV show. The sales for the Last of Us have gone up 200, 300% because of the show, because it is that good, and we're only 3 episodes in. The Halo
so
TV
Peter-
show was a joke.
Peter, I will push back on you and say, the Halo TV show, and as high of a heights as you hear HBO talking about Last of Us, their numbers are neck and neck when you look it up.
That's true.
Even
Yeah,
though
no,
there was
actually,
Master
yeah.
Cheeks and all of that,
Yeah.
their numbers are still
There was a
even
big
now.
drop off
neck
in
and
the
neck.
Halo TV show. All I can see this show going, once word of mouth starts getting around there, is it going
It's
up and up.
no doubt,
Yep.
no doubt,
Yep.
no doubt.
And the only way I
And-
see Halo going is down.
Is
now-
Asante, are you saying this because you are
you
in
are
the
right.
show?
You need to stop that slander, sir. Let's move forward. I will say, everyone should be very, very ecstatic as to where this show is. Whether you like the show, you don't like the show, this is setting a new standard for you, right?
Agreed.
This is setting a new floor where we can expect things to go. Right now, for those who give that comparison between the Halo show and this, I say Halo had to crawl and walk for years so that The Last of Us can run. Because when Halo started, when Halo started its journey to becoming a TV show, Neil Druckmann would have been laughed out of any room he wanted to be a part of the writing room for. You made the game, great, good job. Now go sit down. That's how
he will
it
be
was
able
then.
to direct other TV shows
Fair
due
point.
to the quality of the directing he has been he's put
Well, but
forward in the
that's
last
because
Will he have
that's
been given a
because
chance, though, is the question.
it's because Halo and all of its ilk and all of those gaming IPs have literally been bleeding and breaking down all these ridiculous barriers in Hollywood. And of course, it took Sony, who is Hollywood, to be like, yeah, we're bringing the guy who made the game into the writer's room and nobody can argue. Microsoft did that and they told him to pound sand. You know how many times Halo changed hands?
So
That's
true.
why.
Yeah.
Right?
You know,
so give
I'll
Halo
say
the
this,
slander because it
and
deserves it. But
I'll talk about
it
the
paves
show.
some ways.
I'll talk about the show a little bit. The massive scene. I'm not going to say too much, but the massive scene at the end of the first episode was devastatingly emotional. It hit all the right notes.
Mhm.
It was beautifully done. And other than that, other than just how well that was done, what really hit me is when they walked into the hotel. I remember doing that. I remember walking knee deep in the water. When they jumped out the window at the end when in the museum, I remember jumping out that window. It just is so faithfully recreated and I love it, and it makes me want to go back and experience the game again. And kudos to Sony. They've done a fantastic job. I highly recommend it to anybody. You got to watch this show. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And
Masterclass stuff. Yeah.
here's where the contentious bone is. A lot of people were talking about episode 3 as filler. That's not, if you are thinking that that's filler, then you've got your definitions of filler wrong. Because to me, and this is where I was going to argue with, to me, if you are developing a character, developing their motivations, but not necessarily moving the story or the objective of the story forward, that's not filler. You're giving those characters their motivations much more depth. And for episode 3, we won't go into detail of what happened in that. That's exactly what it was. They didn't just
somebody mic is
somebody's
static.
Pete. Pete, mic static. Somebody's
Pete, your mic is.
I'm just gonna mute Pete. Yep. Okay, so somebody's if you really throw me off. So if you believe that that's filler, like developing a character, giving their motivations the full meaning, the full weight, and it wasn't just the development of the character of the two people
Those
that
two.
were focused on.
Bill and Frank.
It was full. Yeah, I didn't want to say
Yeah,
that.
you don't wanna give
It
me
was
spoilers.
it was
Yeah.
a full.
Well, it's in the episode title. It's called Bill and Frank.
Okay, it was a full.
Is that the
it was
name of
also. Hang on, let me finish.
That's the name of the episode.
Let me finish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was a full development of also Ellie and Joel, even though their parts were not quite as
I
large
have to
as
disagree
Bill
with
and
you.
Frank.
I have to disagree.
And
I'll jump in now because
I'm
you're
not
getting
done.
a little
I'm
too
not
much
done.
leeway.
I'm not done.
Oh boy.
And to be able to develop characters when they are not even on screen is absolutely masterful, and that is not filler.
Yeah, see,
All right,
those
all right,
are
Umbra,
nice.
go
Those
ahead.
are
Let's
nice.
see.
See, those are nice, right? When you throw in all these superlatives, but that doesn't have anything to do with what's filler or not. What's filler is something that does not push the story forward. Nothing in this episode outside of the end, the very end, when the two leads get what they needed to get, push the story forward. Not even. I don't want to spoil anything.
And
so
that's
not
your
even,
definition of, and because of that, that's filler for you?
No, it's that's what I'm pointing out. It's largely filler. You're never going to see those characters outside of this. It does.
Do you
it
think
had nothing
episode
to do
1
with
Sarah was filler?
what episode 1 with what now?
Episode 1 with Sarah, was that filler? The
Sarah.
long time you spent with her, the daughter, because the difference between the game, we're not going to be very
that right
specific,
there
but-
matters, and I'll tell you why that matters because that
Okay.
sets up the main character of Joel.
When so
Not
does
only does
episode
it-
3.
How does it set
Yeah,
that
but
up?
this is
So,
this is
hold
cinematic.
on,
You know what I mean?
time out.
Uh-huh.
Now
No,
I
I'm letting you
interrupt.
explain. Go ahead.
So let
Go
me
ahead,
say
yeah.
this. So that right there matters all the way around because that's motivation.
Uh-huh.
Not only for Joel as a character, but it matters for him dealing with Ellie. That
Yes.
matters wholeheartedly. These two here,
But that
as great as this,
your definition,
as this story
that
was,
exactly is
no,
episode 2.
because I disagree because that right there has specific ties to his motivations moving forward as a character.
So does episode
It has
3.
Specific. No, it doesn't.
Yep.
This has,
Yes, it
it has
does.
specific
Yes.
motivation.
Yes, it
Why,
does.
why am I being interrupted left and right? Episode 1, when it goes with his daughter, that specifically goes to Joel's motivation as a character going forward. It goes to how he deals with Ellie going forward.
Yes,
It goes to
yes.
how
And you don't
he
think
it
episode
goes
3
to the
does
inner
that too?
rage. It goes to the inner rage he had when he dealt with a certain somebody in episode 1. It
And you
goes
don't
to
think
so
episode
much.
3 does that?
Episode 3 doesn't do it at all. Episode
does-
Did
3
you not
touches
remember
on
the last
thing
part?
in
Hang on,
episode
hang on.
three.
Whoa,
does
whoa, whoa, one at a
nothing.
time. One at a
There's
time.
nothing in episode 3 because Ellie and Joel are in there for maybe 10 minutes, if that much. I
Did
don't
you
want to
see the
spoil
letter
anything
part?
else. The letter
I'll just say
did
the letter
nothing.
part.
That
Literally
Hold on,
that literally
okay,
was
hold
the
on, okay.
reason. Okay, go ahead.
That letter did nothing outside of confirming what he was already going through. See, and I'll say this, and this is why the episode it didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because him and Ellie were already going on that journey in the forest, right? I'm not going to go too far risk, but they were already going on there, and he was already showing signs of getting along better with her, right? That letter did nothing to improve that. We didn't see that, at least. Now, if you see it in another episode, when he goes back to that letter and references it, then you'll have some point. But here, it had nothing to do with anything. It said the same thing.
You need to go back and rewatch that episode.
No, I watched it already. I know.
Yeah.
So he'd already been told by, for instance, what's her name?
Tess.
Tess literally said what that letter said. Literally. So that letter did nothing. That episode was purely off emotion. And listen, the episode was great. I'm not taking anything away from the episode. See, some people hear that, the episode was great, so you can't call it filler. Yes, you can. There are great fillers. That episode was great, literally. It was an episode that was filled with great acting, filled with great emotion. It better explored Bill and Frank, something the game didn't do, but it also took away things that the game showed of them that, and moments rather, with Bill that we would have countered with him and Ellie.
It took away nothing of importance.
That's subjective because I see some people, even diehard PlayStation fans, who were upset at that. By the way, so
they had arguments. Like all there was some funny back and forth between Bill and Ellie in the game. That's what happened. There was funny back and forth,
and I agree with you.
It didn't move the story
that part of
forward.
that.
Yeah,
I agree. And even that part in the game is filler, largely until you get to that one part. Just like the episode.
Can I throw something in? Just one thing, please.
Okay, well, let's let Kay jump in here. Yeah, I want to get Kay's thoughts, and then I'll get Pete's thoughts, and then I'll get Cutie's thoughts.
Yeah,
and then we'll move on.
We're not going to belabor the point. I get that, but honestly, to me, Umbra, your definition of why episode 1 was important, and by the way, Sarah, his daughter, and of course, she was played expertly by what's her name?
Here's the part.
Her mom. Her mother,
right there on
her
the
mother's
screen.
a very famous actress. I forget her name right now, but her mother's a super famous actress. She's in a bunch of TV shows that you should look her up.
Yeah.
Very, very famous lady. Right. Needless to say, her daughter looks exactly like my daughter, like 10 years from now. So even though I knew exactly what was about to happen, there was not a dry eye in the house. That's neither here nor there. What you describe as episode 1, I seriously see in episode 3, and I'm going to be very vague on it. And basically, that letter defined protectors and the protected, right? It literally defined that. So as much as I'm with you, Mr. Umbra, you are the man, and I feel that way. Definitely Riskit has the point on this one. I think.
Sandy Newton.
I stand with Riskit.
I didn't know that was
yes, Sandy Newton's daughter. Yes, that's Tandy Newton's daughter. So and to the point that you were talking about, Umbra, about it didn't move anything forward, and it was a lot of filler.
Okay, well, tell me what it moved forward.
A lot of time.
I want to hear this. Let him do it.
I want to hear that specifically.
They spend a lot of time, like, okay, I've used this analogy before, and I think it's apt here. You can tell how good a car is made by its cup holders. You can tell how good a show is by what they do to the characters they throw away when you see them just once. One episode, you never see them again.
Okay, that didn't move anything forward.
Yeah, let me tell you what they moved it forward, right? Just like you saw, right? Just like you're describing that what happened with Sarah and all of that literally became the defining factor of that man's life for years to come, right? He was a cold, heartless, whatever, we're not going to get into all the details of what you see, but he saw himself in Bill. He was just like Bill. That's the reason why when Bill first meets him, he does not put his gun down, because he recognizes himself. It takes one to know one. He recognizes himself in that man. And ultimately, even in the middle when things happen, who does he tell to go to? Go to Joel. He'll know how to help you, because he recognizes himself in Bill. And Bill recognizes himself.
None of that moved that forward.
Well, let me give you the thread. when you recognize yourself in another, right, and you see the other heading down the path you're heading down, it is then up to you to take them for a moment and go, listen, I see you and you see me, and we are kindred spirits. Listen to what I'm saying. And when I say it to you, you'll take it more than when Tess says it to you, because she's not you. I'm you. That thing moved his motivation forward exponentially.
It did.
Just like episode 1 did.
I'm going to ask you this now. Where did you see that motivation that it moved him forward? Because it didn't show that at all.
It definitely did.
Not only did he not even read the letter, by the way, because he had her read it, looked at that part.
No, he reread it.
So
he read it when she got to Tess, and
that's why I said he looked at it and he balled it up. So that's what I'm saying. So my point is, where did you see that it did anything that moved him in any way? Because it didn't show that. That's an inference that you just gave. You know that, right?
It's not inference at all.
Are you saying after next week's episode, then you can go, oh yeah, now look, we see.
That's why I said we have to go off future episodes to see if that's the case, because where he would reference that. Because as far as what this showed, it didn't show that at all. That's an inference. Okay. And I'm not saying it's not a good inference. You make sense. But that is an inference that is not.
You wanted to see that literally 1 + 1 equaling 2.
No, I'm just
storytelling is inference.
I don't need to see it. Hold on, I'm not saying I need to see it. I'm just simply pointing out you did not see that. Also, just to point out that motivation that he had, even if your point is, hold on, Pete. My point is, even if that's your point, that you're saying that, you're not me and such, that's nice. That is also an inference from you as a great understanding person. But Tess literally said what that letter said. Now you can say, well, he had it better because of that letter.
Tess is different.
Because Tess mattered more. Who mattered more to him, Bill or Tess?
Well, but look, and we'll move forward. But you should pay attention to Frank in this episode.
I do want to move.
Frank Frank and Tess are the same person, and Bill and Joel are the same person.
And look, I did.
I got that.
Hang on. So let me
I'm just simply pointing out that as far as that goes, you didn't see that.
I've got to move forward.
That's all I'm trying to point out.
I've got to move forward. But
I got you.
I will say this.
I'm just pointing out, as far as that goes, though, my whole thing is to say.
So the entire episode,
anything that pushed the episode, as far as the show forward. That's what I'm pointing out.
So
that's all. That's why I say I can see why. And by the way, I'm not the only one that says that it was that they saw it.
Yeah, but they're wrong as well. But look,
that's how you feel, but that doesn't mean it right.
Yeah, look,
I'm just pointing out
the entire episode was used a lot of inference. And that's just good storytelling in my book. I'm just going to go to. I agree. I'm just going to go to Pete.
Storytelling, but that doesn't mean that it actually advanced the plot.
If they don't get Emmys for their performance, it'll be an absolute travesty.
Agree.
100% agree.
Like, oh my God,
100%.
We can agree
on that.
Matter
of fact, by the way, Swanson singing at that. Oh, let me shut up.
We can agree on that. We can agree on that. Let me jump to Pete.
That was spectacular.
Yes.
Let me jump to Pete. I'll get Pete's thoughts on episode 3. Then I'll get Cuties, and then we've got to move forward. That this is blowing out.
Honestly, I don't want to jump to this argument. All I'll say is that I think it's really good writing when things are, you have to infer things. When things aren't spelled out to you one for one, we're getting that so much in Hollywood now, where everything's spelled out for us. I love that we have to use our heads, we have to use our minds, we have to open our hearts to these characters, and I think that in itself makes the story go forward.
Well said. Cutie, just your thoughts on how you think The Last of Us is going. If you want to add to the argument, you absolutely can.
Look,
it's not an argument, it's a debate.
No, you know what? They both have good points, and you know what, Asante, you said some really heartfelt things. So I'm really glad you're here today. What I do want to say is that when I play games, when I read books, even, I sometimes there are some character development that I wish I got to experience. And when things are adapted to movies, that's when they get that opportunity. And I think it's only a good thing in my book, and I think they've done it really well in the case of The Last of Us.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, look, I mean, Umbra and I are obviously going to disagree on the point, but to me, developing a character is always moving the story forward, because what you're doing is you're developing it for the audience.
I mean, Riskit. I mean, he can have a great voice. He can be a great podcaster. He can't be right at everything. He has to lose something. So in this case, he's wrong. Come on now.
But not on this one, okay? But not on this one, because even if the case is that
all right,
you have
come on, guys,
great
let's
characters,
move forward.
No. So even if you have these great characters, as far as them being explored deeper and all that, they did a much greater job than the game did with Bill and Frank, right? But that does not mean So I think because of that, and because of the show was so well acted and all of the things that Riskit pointed out, the cinematography and all that, you all are taking it to say, oh, that means that that was so good. And yes, it was this. It wasn't.
No,
it was a great episode, but it did not advance the plot at all.
It developed the characters, which advances the plot.
It developed characters that you'll never see again. So
no, it developed Ellie and Joel. You're just not seeing it. I think you need to go back.
It absolutely did not advance Ellie and Joel whatsoever.
It does.
You did
It
not
advances.
See that.
It does.
Tell me where you saw it at, Pete.
Like I said, I want to get into this.
Yeah, see, y'all.
But I think it advances their motivations. It doesn't need to be explained to you one for one.
Motivations were already there. Motivations were literally already there.
Yeah, but deepening a motivation is developing a character. Whether or not you're there on screen
that's
or
why
not.
I said largely. That's why I said it's largely filler.
Yeah, but it's still.
So my statement holds true.
It's still moving. Anyway, look, let's move on.
You all can say it to the cows come home, but I'm still correct. There's nothing in this episode. Once you all watch it in the audience, great episode, worthy of Emmys, everything that they said. It does not advance the plot one bit.
It definitely does.
Except at the very end when they get.
All right, boys, stop butting heads. Let's move forward.
It definitely does. Look, we'll move on to the next topic. It was a good discussion. And I loved the topic. It was great. And I love that a game can do this and then a series can do this to people, because it just shows how much we love what we do and what we watch and what we play. Speaking of things to love, 343. Oh, not something to love. Everyone was like, no. Kiki. So the news is that Kiki Wolfkill has shifted. She's headed back to I think it's head of IP for Microsoft Studios. So she's moved out of 343.
Heading marketing for IP. Yeah.
Yeah, head of marketing for IP at 3. Yeah, so with Microsoft Studios, she's moved out. She was the person who sort of handled the transition from game to Master Cheeks when it comes to the show, and also a lot's happened with 343 in the last week. And I have to be honest, I'm pretty tired of talking about Halo. I'm pretty sick of it. This is where I'm at with it. They've gutted out the studio. There's not it's only a quarter of the studio. It's not completely gutted, right? They've changed the management. They've done everything we've asked them to do. We're not going to see results from this studio for, I think, a minimum, and this is a minimum, for a minimum of 4 years. We're not going to see the proper implications or what this means for 343 for a minimum of 4 years. They've done what we've asked. And now I really do think as a community, it's sort of time to leave them alone, let them get their head down, their bum up, and either get us out some content, get us out a campaign DLC if that's what's happening. If it's not what's happening, then get us out a new game. Whatever it is that they're working on, I think that 343 has been beaten, belted, bashed by the community. I think it's sort of time to let well enough alone and just let them get on with it, in my personal opinion. I'm disappointed in 343. I'm disappointed in Halo, but I'm definitely willing, after they've made these changes, I'm definitely willing to give them that other chance. And I wish them all success, because this is definitely a franchise that deserves more respect than it got and has gotten in the last 10 years. So Kay, I just want to know, what are your thoughts on Kiki leaving the studio, and the changes that we've seen, the rumored fact that we won't be getting a campaign DLC. Oh, one more thing before I go to Kay, I want to address that I've heard people saying in the community is, why do you expect a campaign DLC? We didn't get one with Halo 3. We didn't get one with Halo 4, so on and so forth. This is supposed to be a 10-year live service game, number one. Number two, this is a live service game. Number three, that campaign was gutted out. It is absolute ridiculousness to try to compare the fact that we didn't get campaign DLC from Halo 3 to Halo Infinite. It's not comparable. They're different games fundamentally, and so stop doing it, because it's a stupid argument. And it really actually pisses me off, as you might have noticed. So, Kay, I just wanted to jump over to you.
I'll just correct what I said really quickly, Riskit. She's head of Xbox IP expansion and entertainment.
Right. Well, hopefully she doesn't expand his cheeks. Asante, I just want to jump over to you and just get your thoughts on, if you just want to sum up, like Halo as a whole, sort of where we're at, and you might be able to tell that I'm sort of a passionate Halo fan, and I've sort of at my wit's end with it.
So unlike probably most on this panel, I am more a single player Halo fan than a multiplayer Halo fan, just by the nature of it. I always have been. I have played those campaigns probably more than almost anybody, like hundreds of hours. I've been part of the Halo MCC Insider program since it launched, and I've been playing every single one. I continue to. I only stopped playing when Infinite came out because now the grappling hook makes me not able to go back. So that's neither here nor there. But that's what I bring in. That's what I come to this with. But what I will say is, like, I don't put too much slander on Kiki Wolfkill, because as we talked about in the past with Halo, with the comparison of Halo TV show compared to the Last of Us, there's context as to why their hands were tied, right? They weren't the bosses in the room, even though that was an IP. So, you know, all you heard was the sound of the shield going off, and she probably had to fight tooth and nail just to get that. Whereas Neil's in the room and he can say whatever he wants, and he can literally expertly fill in what it needs to fill. It doesn't. At the end of the day, like, you know, what you got is what you got, and she was at the helm, so, you know, the buck has to stop her. But, you know, I won't give her that slander, because I know, like, that for a person to be with that franchise as long as she had to have cared about it and all of that. And I've heard her speak about it multiple times.
She could have requested a director butt instead of allowing Hollywood to get its hands on it and murder it.
Well, you like, that's the thing, right? Like, in Hollywood, Microsoft can have all the money in the world. It's meaningless. The only reason why you get a project like The Last of Us is that Sony is uniquely gaming and also Hollywood, right? So only Sony can put one of their own in the writer's room and say, shut up, he belongs here. It took them to be able to make something like this work. Otherwise, if Sony had given it to Netflix, it would have been, well, okay, Netflix has also been doing good work recently, so that's a poor example. But had you given The Last of Us to, say, Showtime or any of those other places, or even HBO, had you given that to them, had you given that to them without Sony's actually interaction and given it to them and said, here's our IP, go off, you wouldn't have seen what you see here. It would probably have been a derivative where a lot of the ports would have been yada yada yada, like Halo did, right? They did not have clout in that room, Microsoft, whereas Sony did, because Sony is Hollywood, right? So, you know, and again, as we talked about earlier today, there was a perfect storm where Halo was getting crapped on in gaming, which was completely their fault, right? And that all added to this whole soup. So when you got to go, they all got to go, right? I am very sad about this situation for Halo in general, right? I too, Riskit, was looking forward to a single player campaign, and yes, folks are talking about why would you need to? Historically, that has not happened. 2 lies were spread to us, right? And in subsequent days after the whole firings and the layoffs and this and that, we've heard a bit more details from those who know. I will not purport to be one of those, but there are those who in this community that I trust that provide accurate and reliable data. People like One Bad Mother from Xbox era, who literally breathes and eats and sleeps Halo, and he has very good connections. And many of them have subsequently have come to say us that, you know, Riskit, you were saying like this was a 10-year live service game. Yeah, that was a Chris Lee statement. That may not necessarily have been from that was not something that the organization as a whole understood. It was something that Chris Lee said. And where's Chris Lee now? Even before the layoffs, he was out the door, right? So there was this whole thing about Chris Lee, not necessarily, he was saying one thing to one side and saying one thing to another side. We don't know how all that shaped up, but that 10-year service plan thing, kind of that narrative prevailed, even though we haven't heard anyone except Chris Lee say it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Right?
Big Mad Mo
So-
in the chat did say he has a question. What were the exact words said that makes this a 10-year thing? Yeah, I mean, and you answered.
Yeah, Chris Lee
my
said
question.
that. Yeah,
It was
he's
said.
the only one that said it, and subsequently, Chris Lee was ousted horribly, right? Even before any of these things happened. So unfortunately, the narrative stuck, right? So, you know, I still think that this is a real black eye for Microsoft and Xbox and all of that. And, you know, your biggest IP, imagine The Last of Us being mothballed. Imagine Mario being mothballed. This is Mario level we're talking about here, right? The IP that brought you to prominence being mothballed, right? At least that's what it seems like in the short term, which for me, very sad. Very, very, very sad. Now, if I have any bit of hope on it, they say that now they're going to be more like the initiative in that they will monitor how progress moves, but they'll have other studios actually take the lead and get things done.
That's still a rumor. It hasn't been
well,
confirmed.
let
I've
me
heard the same
there
thing.
is some confirmation that Certain Affinity has turned Tonka from a mode to a game, a full-fledged game.
Too.
And
I've heard that too.
this is from people like Grub, right? Who I trust implicitly. If he says so,
I trust
it's
One
real
Bad
when
Mother,
he heard
and
it.
I heard it from him.
And I trust OBM, exactly.
Yep.
And they went and took the Tonka from an idea in this game to a full game itself, right? And if there's any studio on Earth that I would want to work on Halo, even Bungie, I would say Certain Affinity, because they made your favorite Halo maps that you remember from Halo 2. And yeah, Max Hoberman, he is Halo. More than anything else, Max Hoberman is Halo. And Max Hoberman is Certain Affinity. So if there's hope, that's where my hope lies. But like you, Riskit, I don't expect to see it anytime soon, right? Again, I'm not the biggest multiplayer gamer just by necessity. So for me, unfortunately, this franchise is dead for the foreseeable future, right? I may not see this until the next Xbox.
So are you saying that
which saddens me?
Are you saying that you have a certain affinity for Certain Affinity?
I have a certain affinity, sir. Yes.
Unlike 343, Certain Affinity hired ex-Bungie staff pretty much exclusively for a long period of time, where 343 actively avoided it. So I do agree with that. Yeah.
Certain Affinity is Bungie, right? Max Hoberman is a Bungie employee who then worked at Microsoft with Bungie, who then quit while they were still part of Microsoft and started Certain Affinity, and then started being hired by Microsoft to continue the work. He literally went, got his own company, and then got the contractor role and has been doing Halo maps ever since, right? So if there's anyone who...
This isn't well known in the community, and Bonnie Ross is gone now, and Kiki Wolfkill is gone now. And we've heard that Frank O'Connor's still there, but I have heard rumblings that he is really not there anymore. They're just not removing his name, but he's not going to have any major say in anything going forward. The whole
to that I say thank God.
I
that
agree.
Should have been out a long time ago.
I agree.
I will say, it being Black History Month, I'll use my one and say fuck that guy. So let's continue.
So
because you remember the issues that happened where they were calling armor monkeys or whatever.
I know
that was his.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're
fuck that guy.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So that's good news. Another bit of good news, I think. What I was worried about.
We said OBM's name and he showed up.
What I was worried about is losing the feel of Halo, but speaking to a few people that are more knowledgeable than me, they believe that whole feel can be transferred into Unreal Engine by using the Havoc engine. You can just port it straight over. And look, all the problems that the multiplayers had in the lack of content and all that kind of stuff is just due to the fact that this engine has been duct taped together, and it's almost impossible to. I just watched someone teabag me on the screen, and I totally lost train of thought. But anyway, so
it was either me or Riskit that teabagged you.
What the hell was I saying? So look, that's a good thing. I've wanted them to move over from Halo Infinite for a while now. I think that engine's broken. It cannot be fixed. I think it's more so than not just being able to produce content, but it's also just the whole netcode thing. The melees still don't work to this day. Rockets that you fire just don't explode. You get shot behind walls. It's broken. It's a bit of a joke. If that takes another 4 years to get another Halo out, 5 years, I'm fine with that. I really am. As long as at the end of the day, they give me something good. Everything I've heard about Pierre Hines is really, really good news. I've heard that he really cares about Halo. He knows what he's doing. They're putting in place a leadership structure and a management structure that's going to enable them to succeed. And that's all you really can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, as far as this goes with this, it's also other news outside of Kiki. So today, Luke from Hidden Xperia, if you all know him, big time Halo content creator. He had pointed out that Bungie legend Paul Bertone, who came back to work on Halo last year as technical design director, now has also left 343. So it's like one thing after another, it seems like, unfortunately, for 343 and with Halo. And it just doesn't paint a pretty picture. I
But that
think
makes
you all
sense,
hit it
no, doesn't it,
well on the
Riskit?
head.
Umbra? Doesn't that
What's
make
that?
sense? Because they won't be making the game anymore. They'll be managing those who do. So why have a technical director in house?
I suppose so. But I mean,
Makes
the thing
sense.
is, I don't know what all he would work on as far as that goes, but I guess it would be story related, right? Uh,
Mm.
I think though, the addition, like you pointed out, the lack of them actually having story DLC, which was, to be fair, a lot of that was rumor, so we don't know that to be true. And actually today he pointed out on his on the Xbox 2 podcast with him and Rand, that let me find it really quick, that the sorry for that. Yeah, that says that according to Jez, everyone had hopium for the Endless DLC. It says that the Endless never existed. It's just a trademark. There was never a discussion about what it could be, and there was never a plan to have single player DLC. So we've been all living on a lie, it seems like,
But
for
you see what that does to us, though? That
yeah.
makes us lose so much hope for what they potentially, because it's like that is breaking logic. Why would you
Mhm.
do that? Hear the environment that we know you listen to all the time and not
Yeah.
say anything and just go,
I
okay,
agree.
they think there's DLC coming. Let's let them keep thinking that
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. Maybe it was the
That
case
was
where they heard it.
crazy.
Maybe they heard it and were thinking, let's do something with that, but never actually got to the planning phase of it. Who knows, right?
Ugh.
My thing is, though,
Ugh.
it would make sense that if and I know that Chris Lee thing was, you pointed out correctly, that was a Chris Lee thing before he was let go, or whatever the case you want to call it. But this is a live service game. So even if it wasn't a 10-year thing, it definitely was some 4 years. They were planning to have this as the basis of Halo. So it's fair to say that you would think that after a while, somebody would want some more story. So story DLC just makes sense, even if you think of it in that way. I think the fact that they didn't talk it out, they didn't have any actually plans for it, it just feels sad to me. I think that Halo Infinite had a lot of promise, and I think it still does if they can write it. I don't know how long that will possibly take. And now that we're hearing, of course, about certain affinity, I just don't know how they're going to actually go about doing that. I see you, One Bad. He says they originally planned to do DLC but never got to development. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
that's what I heard
just
as
don't
well.
know.
So like I did
Yeah, I
hear
just
that
don't know how it's gonna go.
yeah, I did hear that they had put that into like the planning phase, but it never got past the planning phase. And then there was also,
Unfortunate.
I believe, job postings as well. So look, there's a lot of rumors going on with 343. Cutie, what are your thoughts? And then I've got one more topic that I do want to speak on, just a little short one, and then we're probably going to wrap the show because we're pushing the 3-hour mark.
Look, we always talk about this, and it's always a source of contention amongst you all. Look, I don't personally know enough about the situation, but what I am certain of is that I don't know if we're going to get this clarification that you want. Yeah, it's just and it's disappointing that there was no campaign updates, which because I really enjoyed the campaign. But hopefully moving forward they can make better decisions for their consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. And look as well, there's a split community on the engine, and Big Mad Mo said, and I did respond that it's not the cure-all engine. No, that's absolutely true. And proprietary engines are a great thing, but this one just simply hasn't been working. And listen, with time, this is a lot of people saying, well, we just couldn't make it feel right. There was that narrative sort of happening, and they did say that. But you can make any game feel like any game if you take the time. And
Absolutely.
that's 100% a fact. So all it's going to take is them time to get it dialed in, get the movement speed.
What was the original engine running? The Blam engine, and it still felt good on Slip Space, even the moment to moment. So there goes that narrative.
It's just time and effort, and let's give them a bit of time and leave them be for a bit, because they've taken a hell of a beating, and we'll see what happens. If they do farm out the IP and give us some some games in the interim, that would be great. Hopefully, and if they do bring out a whole new game, that would be great as well. But just give them time.
Unless Tatanka can launch with some campaign DLC, Infinite's dead.
Yeah, I agree.
Move on.
Agreed.
I think that Tatanka seems to be more. And they're saying now that it's going to be more than just a battle royale.
Yeah, it's going to be a
gonna
game of
possibly,
its own. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possibly going to be a game of its own, or maybe something like them bringing back Warzone or something like that. Hopefully, it's something major in that vein. Hopefully, they'll show something at E3. I don't know. It seems. And I'll say like the we always say it, the skeletons, the bones, whatever. Halo Infinite is solid. I still enjoyed the
Sure.
campaign. I'm not going to retroactively take that away from it. It's just that in hindsight, we looking now and we see that the lack of content they actually had for this, and it seems like the ill planned out live service that they were doing, it just doesn't make sense. Just all of that pointed to what we had been saying for so long, which was a management issue, and they all proved that with letting go of the people they let go, and former employees coming out and saying exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It's funny how well Halo 5 did after launch with the extra content that it was pretty much the opposite. So the campaign was hated and really talked negative upon when it first came out, and multiplayer was then like loved and picked up by the community, and it just seems very opposite with Halo Infinite, where the campaign was loved and multiplayer's hated.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, as I say, we're going to move on, but as I say, give them the time. We gave them the time with Infinite. Didn't pan out. Let's see what the management change does. It is a different 343. So let's see what happens. I believe in the developers. It's just the management, as Umbra said, that I always thought was the problem. I think we all thought that. So moving on to the final topic. There's a couple of topics I really want to cover. So listen, Xbox has made a huge misstep, and it really is, and it really needs to be highlighted. They've raised the prices in Japan, the exact region that they're trying to bring a player base into. Absolute stupidity. Just absolute stupidity. I understand inflation. I understand all of that. You can offset that, and you can probably offset that a lot better by bumping prices in another region to cover that region. If you're trying to gain a foothold in a country, it's probably not the smartest fucking thing to do to raise the prices of your console there. Look, it's not a heap. I just think it's a bit stupid. And I just honestly, I'm kind of waiting for the day when Xbox stops making these really ridiculous missteps that just don't make any sense to me. Yeah, I mean, I understand business, I understand currency and all that sort of thing, but it's just it's just another hit for Xbox. And look, I do want to just quickly cover this. So, guys, do you have any quick thoughts, quick fire, rapid thoughts on what you're with it, you're against it? What are your thoughts, guys?
It's only being
go ahead.
raised in price by 55 Australian dollars.
Yep, that's 55
$40
Australian.
How much is it in
That's a-
Japan?
That's
5,000.
It's 5,000 yen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being raised by 5,000 yen.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's
honestly-
$50. No, honestly, that's not good enough. They're trying to gain a foothold
Yep.
in the country, and they go and raise the price of the console. They're trying to sell that console in the country. It's
Well,
stupidity.
they raised the price of games recently.
They
Yeah,
did.
and Cutie, don't forget what we said when PlayStation raised the price of their console. We absolutely, had a big go at them for doing that. There's no difference
Because
here. I don't
their
see.
console's already originally overpriced.
Yeah.
The Xbox console has a lot more in it, in silicone in it, and costs a lot more than the PlayStation one. PlayStation was actually making money off their console pretty much when it first came out. Xbox has been losing money on their console for a long time, and probably will be for a long time coming. Why Japan as a
Absolutely.
market? That's what I don't
They
understand.
probably sell the
Japan
least
is
there.
Yeah, but it's an emerging market, and the only way you're going to get into that market is by undercutting your opposition. And now the PlayStation 5 physical and the Xbox Series X are the same price, and it's not really the X that is selling very well in Japan. It's the S that's also gone up, and by a larger percentage. When you look at it in percentage terms, it's now 37,000 yen. That's what was selling in Japan.
and as an
Maybe if they
emerging
just left
market-
the X.
Yeah, as an
Maybe if they
emerging
just
mar-
left the X as much as it was and left the price of the S, I probably could have stomached that. But both of them, I don't think it's good enough. Sorry,
Yeah.
Riskit.
And as an emerging market, it's not how you bring in more consumers by raising the price of your product and then offering what? Nothing. This is unprecedented. Like when PlayStation did it, it was unprecedented. It was wrong. I disagree with it. Now that Xbox is doing it, look, India, I sort of understood. They have a presence there. They do have a presence there. They are selling consoles in India. They're not selling consoles in Japan. They're selling more than they did last generation, yes, but they're not even touching the Xbox 360 sales. And this is not how you get a foothold in a country that you traditionally.
I have a statement and a question for you, Riskit. Maybe you can help me. So my statement is, we all know that Microsoft loves to do what they do, and that's like snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So that may be more of that now. And my question is, what are the numbers of cloud Game Pass subscribers in Japan? Is there an idea? Because there are some of these markets that they're in where folks use other methods besides the console to game on because they have that capability, and their ecosystem as far as network capabilities are far stronger than others. So maybe they see that they're getting growth in that area. So the hardware is not even justified to be at that low price because they can still get what they want, which is a Game Pass subscriber. Do we know that is not the case? No, this is the Japanese market, which they all say their network and their millimeter wave 5G is way more advanced than anything here in the West, at least. Anyway,
you do ask interesting, well thought out questions. No, we don't, but that doesn't really change the fact that what you're doing is then pigeonholing those people that could possibly have been in that market for a console.
What did I say?
Snatching
defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I think you're thinking too much into this. I think it's honestly. First of all, it's $50. First of all, it's raised enough to be part of inflation, and not too much to be like, price gouging, trying to, we're not selling enough, so we're going to raise the price. Like, I don't know. I think this is a bit of nothing, to be honest.
And to be fair to Doom Cutie's point, the Series S, just as a matter of, just so y'all know, to this day, if you go try and buy as a PC gamer that I am, if you try and go and buy the equivalent CPU, which they sell on the market, you can buy it's a little custom. It's almost the same. I'd say it's about 95% the same. Just the CPU alone will cost you more than the entire console.
Yeah.
The S is an amazing little console, and and that's why it should remain at the cheaper price as an entry level for people that want to get into it in emerging markets.
But you heard that, right?
And Microsoft should
Peter?
wear that costs.
But you heard that, like, it costs more than the whole console, and
I
that
understand that, but
CPU
that's the way
is
that
more powerful
consoles
than the
have always
PS5 one.
That's the way console have always worked. It's been a very, very new thing where people have tried, where Nintendo has tried to make money off the Switch straight off the bat, where PlayStation have made money straight off the bat. It has always been the case that you take a loss, and sometimes a heavy loss, at the start of a generation in order to get people into the network and then sell your software to make up for that. And after coming off Xbox's dismal Xbox One, especially in Japan, you're finally getting a little bit of momentum in an area where you desperately need momentum, especially if you're looking to buy a developer in that area, and then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, agreed. I 110% agree with that. I have to. It's baffling, and it is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, in my opinion. Umbra, we haven't heard you on this. Did you want to? What are your thoughts on them raising the price?
Yeah, I don't really get it either. I don't know enough on it to really comment much more than to say I don't like it. But I mean, like Pete pointed out, we had to give PlayStation the smoke for them doing it. But so it wouldn't be fair of us to not say so for Microsoft doing it. I will say, of course, there is a stark difference, is that this is only in Japan, whereas Sony did it in several countries. To be fair,
every country but the US. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't really get it. Business wise, I don't understand it. It seems like now they're doing well too, just to say, and relatively, I guess is to say, well in Japan compared to last gen and such. So, and probably within the next year or so, they'll probably surpass the 360 sales there, which is crazy enough to say. But I don't know, man. I really don't understand why they're doing this. I don't know how to make heads or tails of this. Heads or tails of this. So I don't know. I don't know enough of this to say. I just don't think it makes much sense PR wise.
No, it definitely doesn't, mate. It doesn't look good. It's not a great look. And I mean, it could be the start of them just going through regionally and raising prices throughout the world. just in incremental. Somebody keeps trying to call me, and I can't answer right now. Just in incremental, they might go across all countries and raise the price. And if that's the start of what they're doing, I don't really. Yeah, I'm not down with it. Like, you've always taken a hit on your console. Take the damn hit. Make some software and sell that, in my personal opinion. Last topic of the day I just want to cover, which is a bit disappointing, but not terribly disappointing. Jedi Survivor has been delayed. Not only that, The Last of Us on PC has also been delayed. Seems like the time of delays has not really ended, unfortunately. The release has been pushed back from March the 17th to April the 28th. So just a little over a month. We'll have to wait a little bit longer. Look, I'm disappointed, but listen, again, I do subscribe to if they do delay it, if they announce a delay, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to say, get the game right, make sure it's bang on, then release it. Not before they announce a delay. I'm not giving them the credence to give them the go ahead and just delay the game indefinitely. I'm disappointed, but I'm also happy they've taken the time to do obviously what they need to do, which is polish and bug squash. And I hope it's a fantastic game, guys. What are your thoughts on the delay? You think the time of the delays, Umbra, is still upon us?
Yeah, I think the time of the delays are still on us. I think still this is going to be a crazy good year, and I'm all for it. I think as great as the first Star Wars Jedi Knight Fallen Order was, I give them the same leeway I would give any other developer that I know is capable. Same thing with Starfield and everything else. Take your time, get it right, give us the game when it's ready. If they're saying this, I'm 100% in support of them doing that. And April was kind of wide open anyway, to be fair. So this just kind of lends itself to. I mean, it is at the end of the month, to be fair. So it might kind of pull into the May 2nd area of Redfall, but yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. Take the time they need to get it right, and if they're saying it, I trust them.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I did forget because it's been a 3-hour show, so it's been a bit long. And this is our last topic, but I did forget to go quickly through the questions and super chats. Go on, Mad, with a $20 super chat. Absolute champion. Go on, Mad. We appreciate you supporting us. Hit that like button. Please, guys, hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new here. Big Mad Mo said, why was Anthem so great? They got rid of it. The greatest game that never was. That's right. If they supported that game, it could have been amazing. The mechanics were fine. It was content that was the problem. And over-promising and under-delivering, which is also seems to be a bit of an industry problem. I wish they would stop doing that because it does damage games and sometimes irreparably. Mark from Legendary Drops says, now that I've seen multiple gameplay cuts from you, I now know that you are the better gamer, and I will do my best to meet your level of gamership every day for the rest of my life. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. That was a lovely thing of you to say. Kay Asante.
Where are you reading that? What?
Kay Asante. Moving to you.
Well done there, Riskit. Well done.
Are you a bit disappointed in Jedi Survivor? Expected? Did you think that we were sort of past the delays?
Not at all. Not at all disappointed at the delay. I was actually worried if it was coming out when it was originally coming out because, man, there ain't enough time in the damn day. I delay that thing. Keep it, push it further. There are so many things hitting at the same time. There's just not enough hours in the day. And some of these are like huge media experiences that they expect you to, know life or take up so much time. So, this is going to be a great year for games. And, I don't foresee any month of this year having any kind of a drought. So, yeah, you need more time. Take the time you need, go do your thing. And it's like, what, 6 weeks? I think it was probably more a strategic move than it was the game is broken or something. But yeah, I think this is a non-issue. I'm happy that it's delayed and will be released perfectly. So that's it.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully they get it right on the release date. Pete, what do you think? Did you think we'll pass delays, or were you sort of expecting a few more to land? I think you have mentioned in the past you sort of do expect it.
I expect more delays, but as for Jedi Survivor, I'm devastated. Obviously, it's one of my favorite games. The sooner I get my hands on that game, the better. It's Respawn. I completely trust them. The first game was amazing. I think this one's even going to be better. And I think I mentioned right at the start of the podcast when we got that news that The Last Case of Benedict Fox is really going to interrupt, which game I'm going to play. I'll obviously play Star Wars first, but I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. Both games are really, really good. I want to play both of them. Yeah, so it is only 6 weeks in saying that, so it's not a massive delay.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of wonder what they can get done in 6 weeks, so it must just be a final polishing phase. Maybe they're shifting out the way of another game. You never know. Doom Cutie, what do you look? I know that you're a massive Star Wars fan, unlike Pete, who is a Sith Lord and a master of the dark arts. But what are your thoughts on Star Wars delaying? Did you see it coming?
I'm looking forward to this game, but the game that I'm currently playing right now is going to be taking up a lot of time.
Oh,
So,
boy.
and if
Sounds
you're
like you're
gonna
playing Hogwarts to me.
if you're looking forward to this game, Matt, you are in for a treat.
Absolutely
Is
fantastic.
it magical?
We
Would
definitely
you say
won't.
it's magical, the game?
we won't
I
say.
would.
We won't say what it is or too many.
Someone slap Umbra, would you? Somebody slap Umbra.
I'm trying to get her to violate that NDA so bad.
But look,
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what's funny with NDAs? Any game, if you've never done this before or never signed one or not sure, there is actual like stipulations about where you can play the game.
Oh yeah. In the
Wasn't it like
house
that
with
for
your
that
curtains
the
closed.
other beta you all were in?
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
some people haven't been part of a tech test or anything like that, and there are very very clear rules around this. So,
Yeah.
mm,
You can't
sometimes-
I
play
have
it
one question
with
for
your
you
curtains
all.
open. You've got to like tell your family to go and hide in the opposite room.
Yeah.
They have to wear a
That's so damn
blindfold when they
stupid.
walk into your house. Like, it's crazy.
That's how it was for the beta you all were in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But I
Mhm.
was gonna say, did you all hear about the news? We're not gonna discuss it, I suppose, but did you hear about the always online situation with Redfall?
Yes, and I don't think it's a big deal. It's a co-op game. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect from a co-op game.
Don't get me to rant. I will rant, and we don't have time for this to rant.
Yeah, we don't have time to rant for
All
it.
I
Yeah.
will say is this is a non-issue for Redfall, but this is a problem of a bigger issue that we have allowed to fester. I play Mario Brothers 3 today still. Because we've allowed this to exist, there'll be a time where my children will never be able to play Infinite. When it goes away, it's gone. And that's a Travis democracy. We need that to stop.
And Travis Marcus.
Absolutely. If you're not a PlayStation gamer, old games, legacy games should be kept around. Obviously, no PlayStation exclusives though, because old games, aren't relevant. But that's what I've been told on Twitter. I'm just going with
Slander.
that's just what I've been told. So I'm going to go with what they think. I don't want to speak for them, even though I am. It's been a fantastic show. It's been a very, very long show. So I'm going to make these outros extremely quick. So this is going to be my selling, auction voice. TKO Asante, you're absolutely champion. Thank you for coming on the show, giving us your takes. Let people know where they can find you. I really appreciate everything that you said today. You are a well thought out, intelligent man. So shout out to you and your Gaming Circle podcast. Please let everyone know where they can find you. Bye.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. No, I'm not going to do that. Thank y'all so much for having me on. I appreciate being on, and what a show it's been. We've had 2 shows in one. Absolutely fantastic. I really appreciated the invite and always enjoy talking with you fine folks. Catch me on the Game Circle podcast tomorrow. We will have the man OBM in the house to expound more on his sad state of Halo. Our show has always been very Halo adjacent, so as we are where we are with it, we're going to convene the panel and we're going to talk about it. So we'll be on there tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard on the Gaming Circle podcast. Follow me, TKO Asante, on Xbox, PlayStation, all those places. When we go live, you'll see us go in there as well. Check out some of the past episodes. We've had a couple of people on this show already on, and soon we'll hopefully have JediKnightPeter on as well. We're still talking about getting him on in the background as well. But yeah, our episode with Doom Cutie did absolutely great, and we appreciated her being on as well. So
That was
yes,
a great
thank you guys so
episode.
much for having me on again.
Look, absolutely,
Thank you.
those were great episodes, but I will say that neither of those people are the voice of Australia. Anyway, and if you do want to find where you can jump on the Gaming Circle podcast, just head down to the description. I have all of Kay Asante's links in the description. Just jump in there, his Twitter, his YouTube, absolutely everything. Go down there, jump on,
Thank you.
subscribe, and listen in, because It is a great show, and Kay was the first person I thought of when I had gotten Gaming Nexus on, because the guy's just straight up intelligent. He asks questions that sometimes people don't think about, and this is what I love about Kay. He's got a sort of a thinks of it from the side as well as the top and the bottom. Now we're going back to the voice. Team Cutie has another fantastic week. Thank you for coming in the podcast. Let people know where they can find you. What have you been playing this week?
Thank you very much. Great show as always. Really, I like it when we have like two separate parts. Like, it's always interesting, but it does go for a long time. So thanks for sticking with us, chat. We love you. Thank you for TK Asante. Always lovely to have you. And fantastic singing. I didn't realize you had some pipes on you. Would 10 out of 10 listen to again.
I said I'm gonna fight Umbra. He and I are gonna have a battle one of these days. We'll see.
I would buy tickets to that. Yes. This week I'll be playing, probably along with a lot of people, Hogwarts Legacy. I'm very busy with work, so I'll probably jump on to do my Forza weeklies, and then this game is going to be great. So very much looking forward to that. As always, you can find me on Twitter and on Xbox.
Absolutely. And if you want to find Doom Cutie, all of her links are down in the description below. Also, I will say this, as I sort of forgotten, now I'm sort of remembering, guys, if you are sticking with us for the outros, you want to stick with us for a little bit longer, because I do have an announcement. It's a little bit of a sad one. JediKnightPete, another great show. Thank you for coming in to let the people know where you can find us and tell you what's going to be playing this weweek.
Twitter, JediKnightPeter, Xbox, JediKnightPeter. Great show, everyone.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Kay.
Damn, that was quick.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm just let people know where they can find you. They get another great show. Thank you for coming through to give us your takes every week. Please let us know where you can find you, any links, and then we'll see you the next week.
You guys find me on Twitter. Okay, now find me on Infinite. Let me try to do this fast as I can. Peter Piper, Peak Papers. No, you guys can find me on Twitter under Infinite Umbra, Infinite. Either way, you'll find me. And of course, you can find me on Boom Show Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesdays at 12 Eastern, and here, of course, at 7 Eastern. Yeah, thank you all for coming through, and thank everybody for the guests in our chat. Thank you all, appreciate it, Kay.
Absolutely. And now I'm going to slow down for this one. If you do want to find Umbra, you can find his links down the bottom as well, JediKnightPete. I'm going to slow down for this one. So look, I do have some life changes happening, guys, and something has definitely happened. I've sort of picked up a new career, and I'll be moving into that. Unfortunately, what that means is I will be flying in and flying out once again. And so next week, I'm unsure of how. Next week, we won't be running a show, unfortunately, until I can just check out the environment that I'm in, how I'm going to run things, and how it's going to work. And then from there, I will keep everyone updated on Twitter when I have been unblocked or unrestricted, which I think happens in another 7 to 8. It's going to kill me. But guys, we will be back. So unfortunately, next week we won't be airing. The following week we definitely will. And from there, I'll let all of you know what we're going to be doing going forward and how we're going to roll with it. I'm going to put up a poll on Twitter, because it may be a possibility that we will switch times for one of the weeks, not both of the weeks. So I might throw up a poll and see if you guys prefer that, or if you guys prefer us to pre-record for one of the weeks, because that may also be a possibility. Or it may just stay the same. We will see. I just have to wait till I get up there and get rolling. So guys, for an airport coffee, your daddy Quezada said, for an airport coffee and a bee-proof vest. Thanks, buddy.
$2. Wow. Airport coffee is $10.
That
is awesome. I'm gonna need a bullet.
I covered it. They might get a coffee, but I don't know about the vest.
Hey, I live in Florida. $2 will get you a bulletproof vest. It's okay. Go ahead.
I just picked one up off a dead man at school. Okay.
Shooter, praying for you, brother.
Won't be needing that.
Yeah, so we're not going to be on next week's Shooter, but I wish you all the best, mate.
Yeah, all the best. Shooter's going in to have some things done, and hopefully it comes out 110% better.
Shooter.
So, yeah, all the best there as well. Guys, again, the chat, you guys have been amazing. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for supporting us every week. Those who are new, thank you for coming along and subscribing. Please hit the like button on your way out. And look, no matter what happens in the future, the community has been absolutely amazing, and we love you all. You guys are amazing. So thank you very much for supporting us thus far. We will be back, not next week, but the week following. See you then.
Much love, guys.